It is Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Good morning. It is 8:30 a.m. here Central Time. It is your host, Sean Bean, here with me again, my intrepid, awesome, esteemed co-host from day one, the group president of the Firecrown Aviation Group, Teresa Demers. Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning.
Teresa, do you mind if I make an unprepared statement?
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I'm in trouble.
Okay. So we are here on day 4 of Oshkosh Live, and after today, we'll have completed 16 hours of broadcast, interviews, packages, stories, and it's been amazing. And you would think we've had a great 3 days, and we're here on day 4, and it would be very easy to just coast, right? I feel like we've done a great job. We can kind of coast through today, but this is no lame duck episode. This is no senioritis happening here, folks. We may have the best show of the week here today. Incredible guests, great stories, great packages from out in the field. So we're here to bring you the best episode of the week here from Redbird headquarters at Oshkosh EAA AirVenture, the world's largest, biggest, most awesomest aviation celebration. How was that?
That was fantastic.
You were worried for a moment,
weren't
you?
No, well, just
Clearly.
for a moment. Yes, right, yeah. But no need to take that take again. You were amazing in that.
Teresa, you and I were together a few days ago right here at the anchor desk. We've kind of gone our separate ways, and now it's back together again. Great to be with you. What have we missed? I mean, tell me a couple of the highlights for the past couple of days for you. How's it been since we've been separated and apart?
Yes, well, I think that just talking to people, whether it's customers walking around or some of our trading partners, there's just such a sense of optimism. I think, that the business is good and people are excited. They're buying stuff, they're building stuff, and so that's been really the optimism has been really invigorating.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's great to hear. Things are looking good here at Oshkosh. We got a little bit of overcast. It's about 78 degrees. We're expecting maybe a little bit of weather to move through here later in the morning. Our amazing producer, as I've said many times, Kaylee Nix, has a meteorology background, so I've been relying on her to give us the most accurate forecast. So I've deleted the weather app from my phone, and I just text Kaylee or ask Kaylee, Kaylee, what's going to happen? And I think she's had enough.
And she's been remarkably accurate. So I wanted to make sure we got in the tent before the thunderstorms hit, which may happen momentarily here. So
well, it's going to be a great morning. We got all kinds of stuff coming from the Firecrown Aviation brands. Flying, of course, Plane and Pilot, Aviation Consumer, AvWeb, Kit Planes, Aviation Geeks. Teresa, you've got a pretty awesome portfolio of brands.
Yes, our portfolio of brands in the aviation group is like no other in the world. We have all the customers, we can talk to all the audiences, and we have so many people that are fans of our brands. We have amazing writers, we have amazing advertisers. It's such a pleasure, such a humbling pleasure to work in the group.
Awesome. Well, what better way to start? We have a big time guest to start off our show today, Teresa. Why don't you go ahead and take over the intro? Tell us who we have joining us here right now.
Well, we have the folks from Black Hawk Aerospace today. Sorry. And with me on my right here is Jim Allman, one of the founding partners of Black Hawk. And to my left is Pete Bunce, who many people also may know, retired from Gamma earlier this year, and is on the board of Black Hawk as well as the board of Redbird Flight, which is obviously we're powered by Redbird here this week. So we're going to have a really interesting conversation with these guys, a little bit about what they do, but more specifically about some of the tax implications for aircraft owners to be considering now that the Big Beautiful Bill has passed. So, Jim, why don't you tell us just a little bit about the background and what Black Hawk does?
Well, we started the company about 27 years ago, and from an idea that I had from working from another company that did piston engine upgrades. So I thought this would be a great opportunity or a great business to do it in the turboprop world. And so I pitched it to my business partners at the time. They thought it was a great idea. And one of them bought an airplane. It was a Cessna Conquest 425. We purchased an STC that already existed, but we had to clean it up. It was very old school. Everything was handwritten. There was no computer files and all that. So we cleaned it up and got it reapproved and bought an airplane, upgraded the airplane, and I just said, I'm just going to start flying it wherever I can. Anybody that will even have a remote interest in upgrading, I'll go talk to them, give them a ride. So my first one was in Denver, Colorado. I called the guy, and he said he had a Conquest, and he says, well, I don't think that'll work, but come on up. I went up there, demoed it, and he bought an upgrade, and that started the company. And then from there, we expanded into King Air aircraft, all the King Air series up through the 350 now. We did the Cheyenne series, the Caravan, all the Caravans, and of course the Conquest, and then we eventually now we do the Pilatus PC-12.
Fantastic, yeah. So at the time you started, the idea of doing an engine upgrade on a turboprop was not really being done.
Yeah, there was a couple of companies doing it on a very small scale, and I had much bigger plans and dreams. I thought, that to do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 a year was not a business model I wanted to be a part of. So my vision at the time was to eventually do 20, 30, 40 airplanes a year, and now, I mean, we will buy from Pratt & Whitney. We're probably the 3rd or maybe the 4th largest buyer of new Pratt & Whitney engines, PT6 engines in the world. So we're buying over 100 engines, brand new engines a year, and there's really not even many OEMs buy that many. So yeah, it's worked out.
Yes, well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've really proven the model. That's fantastic. And obviously we may talk about it a little later, but there's some other business units that have been added on over time too. But let's just turn it over to Pete here for a moment. Now, Pete, as we start to think about these depreciation issues, how would you want to give us a little bit of the history? You were very involved in the development of what is now become the law and or the regulation, and how did we get to where we are, and how does that benefit consumers?
Well, Teresa, even before I came to Gamma, so this is more than 20 years ago, bonus depreciation was looked at as a way to stimulate the industry in poor economic times. And everyone knows our industry goes in cycles. And so bonus depreciation would be implemented, which accelerated a normal depreciation schedule that businesses have for any type of equipment. And the whole intent was to stimulate manufacturing, domestic manufacturing in the U.S. So we used this, coming out of the Great Recession, while I was at Gamma, we used it. And we would go up on the Hill and lobby for it hard in both the House and the Senate. And over time, then that would wane, and then we would regenerate it when we needed it again. And it became a very useful tool. But you work those issues with the tax committee. So, we work authorization for like the FAA reauthorization bills and that. We work with the appropriators for annual appropriations. On the taxing bills, that doesn't happen all the time. There's only certain points in time where you can actually go in, work with the taxing committees up on the Hill to be able to get legislation through. Over the last several years and during the last administration, the depreciation schedule and bonus depreciation is waning. And obviously, we have been constrained within our industry because of supply chain and because of the drain of a lot of experienced labor and everything. So there was a receptive audience when the new administration came in and the new Congress to be able to say, okay, we're going to take up the tax bill the taxes were expiring, so they could use reconciliation to go ahead and start the process. So there were two very important pieces for our industry. One was to look at bonus depreciation. Could we get it even accelerated? A lot of people say it's bonus depreciation on steroids, and what is technically called is 100% or immediate depreciation. Other people have called it 100% expensing. But that was one element. The other one was the R&D tax credit, because before it was stretched out over such a long period of time, the companies couldn't use it like they really wanted to have heavy investment to try to get that return on investment and accelerate it up front. So those were the two issues that we at Gamma, representing the manufacturers, the modification companies, the maintenance organizations, really worked hard. And we were very proud that as all the sausage making happens when legislation comes through, that we got that. It's retroactive back to January at the beginning of the administration, and I really think it's going to be a key player to be able to keep us rolling on this nice trajectory that we have had coming out of COVID. It's been artificially constrained because of that supply chain and labor issues, but it's been positive growth, and it's kind of been a governor on the industry. And this is going to keep the momentum going. So I'm excited because, it's not only for new aircraft coming off the line. We can modify an aircraft. People can buy new components, props, engines, avionics, and use this 100 or immediate depreciation to their advantage. So I'm excited about it, as well as the R&D tax credit. People don't realize, you think of R&D, these big companies go ahead and do it. But I know Jim spends a lot of time, because there is a lot of R&D that has to come into being able to mate new engines with especially an older aircraft to see how we can bring it up to standards and really breathe new life into this old equipment. So, and that's why I'm excited to be with Blackhawk, because there is such value in really enhancing the safety of these older aircraft and being able to keep more of them. So we're an expanding industry. We're not constrained by a finite number of aircraft. We want more aircraft out there.
Right. Well put, and thank you for the background on that. It's fun to hear from an insider how that sausage is made. So that's fantastic. And so Jim, tell us a little bit more about how the R&D credit actually does affect you, because I think Pete's right that there's the notion that the big companies that are making big whatever. But so how do you guys, like, what goes into actually figuring out this engine's going to now work with this plane and we can?
Well, over the last 27 years, this mostly came out of my head. It was kind of like, I think this will work. And then I'll sit down with the engineers and say, okay, this is my idea, what I think we can do. And a lot of times, because they know, it's going to be a lot of work, they'll tell me 15 reasons why it won't work.
Oh, of course.
But in the end, we'd come to agreement. But there is... What we're trying to do is increase the performance of the aircraft, increase the safety of the aircraft, and modernize the aircraft.
Yeah.
So a lot of these airplanes were built, in the 70s, and they're still flying. Mm-hmm. And their engines were built in the 70s, and their avionics were built in the 70s. So you have to do flight test programs, and you have to figure out, will this engine fit in this airplane and not require a wing modification or anything like that.
Right.
And same thing with the avionics. I mean, Garmin, our friends at Garmin, did such a fantastic job of bringing new technology to the cockpit that has increased the safety, 100-fold. I have Garmin in my airplanes, and I'm amazed at what they can do, and I'm looking forward to seeing the research and development that Garmin will do over the next 5 years to even make it even cooler.
Right.
So, yeah, we do a lot of engineering. We do a lot of research and development. We're always looking at an airplane and saying what can we do to make that airplane safer, faster, perform better. And for a perfect example, we put a higher horsepower engine, significantly higher horsepower engine, on the Cessna Caravan. And we've sold those up into Alaska and Canada, and they have historically had an issue with icing.
Yes.
It builds up a lot of ice. The speed starts dropping off, and there's a little light that comes on that says you must get out of ice, basically, because you drop below this airspeed. And a lot of them were lost because they just iced up too much and didn't have the power. Mm-hmm. Well, we gave them the power, and the light never would ever come on.
Wow.
And the research and development we did into ice shapes on the airplane, and then flying up into Nebraska and loading it up with so much ice. We had videos of this ice and be sticking out from the wing this far.
No kidding.
And we just throttle it on up and keep climbing right up out of it. So it's a huge safety factor. And then we've got operators in Africa, and the UN uses them to go into grass strips or dirt strips or jungle strips to take supplies in and medical supplies, and take people out that are needing medical attention. So it enables them to carry more people and more cargo in or out of these little tight strips by having that extra horsepower. So research and development is kind of 75% of what we do.
Right.
The other 25% is my sales team has to go out and sell it so we can have more money to do more research and development.
Right. And keep expanding the capabilities.
Exactly.
I mean, those were some great use cases that you mentioned about, more sort of humanitarian types of things, and then obviously the situations in Alaska or in very, very cold countries, icing countries, so, areas. So that's wonderful. And so I think one of the key takeaways today for the viewers is that that take advantage now. I mean, this is retroactive back to January, so if you've been thinking about upgrading your aircraft, now's a good time to do it. 100% depreciation this year if you'd want to do that. If you want to space it out over time, I think there's still like a 5-year schedule or something. Is that right, Pete? Yeah.
And you could take 50% up front, too, and then amortize the rest of it.
Okay, yeah. So
it applies to engine upgrades. It applies to avionics upgrades. So, and it's not just our industry. I mean, if you're a construction company and you buy a new bulldozer or you buy a new dump truck or you have a computer company, you buy new software, it helps all the industry. This is not a rich man's tax cut. This is across all industries.
Right. And
it creates jobs. I mean, aviation is one of the biggest employers in the country, and I think that, but it should be known that it applies everywhere.
Right. That's a good point. And I so appreciate you guys coming on today. This was a great education for the audience, and a little promo for Blackhawk too. And well done. Congratulations on building such a wonderful company. And
thank you, Teresa.
It was a real pleasure talking to you. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
Jim.
All right.
Thank
if
you.
they want to learn a little more about Blackhawk, what is the URL? BlackhawkAerospace.com?
Blackhawk Aerospace.aero, A-E-R-O.
.aero. Okay, check out BlackhawkAerospace.aero. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yep.
And Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight, continues. We got that was a great segment. Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah.
And we've got more action coming. The desk there's a lot of activity happening right now. We've got our next guest moving up here. We're starting to see the thoroughfare starting to pop up. The Redbird booth, typically these doors open up and people start to pour in, sticking their heads in the simulators. But everybody is really going to dig this next segment. It's a very cool story, and we're very excited to be a part of helping share it. Jesse Polstrang from Wing Drone Delivery is at the anchor desk. Jesse, welcome to Oshkosh Live.
Thank you.
We've been very excited to talk to you about what you've got going on. So I think we got some video to show. We got a drone here on set to share. So maybe the best place to start is a boilerplate overview. Tell us what Wing is and what it does.
Yeah, so Wing is the leading drone delivery service. We are delivering to thousands of homes in the U.S., in Australia. We are getting small packages right to those doors for customers with partners like Wing and DoorDash, and we are leading the way to make that happen. It's real today, and it's only going to grow.
Yeah. Well, I think, first off, if we have a shot of it, we have one of your drones here on set you were kind enough to bring. I don't know if we have an ability to show the drone here on set.
Yes.
But anyway, Jesse, let's go ahead and throw it to the footage. We have some footage because I think you really just have to see this.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, Jesse can imagine if you will, a drone in the air carrying your wings, carrying your baby formula. But I think, so Jesse, I know, you've obviously probably seen this video a million times, but tell us what we're looking at right here.
Yeah, so what we have today on set and what you'll see here soon is the aircraft currently in service. So this aircraft is carrying a little under 2.5 payload, and so that means that we can load up those essential items maybe from a Walmart. We've got baby formula, eggs. Maybe you're ordering something from DoorDash. We have folks that love to order Panera lemonades. And because of the way this drone is designed, we can get that to the doorsteps with no spills.
That's incredible.
That's incredible, yes.
And you're an Alphabet company, is that what I understand?
Yes, we are wholly owned by Alphabet. We came out of the Moonshot factory. We graduated to the company we are today in 2018, and we started as the first commercial drone delivery service in the U.S. in 2019.
Awesome. Well, a factoid that really jumped off the website doing some research, already more than 450,000 deliveries, already over 3 continents. And we were talking about those locations. You'd mentioned the U.S., Australia, but you also mentioned London, a very interesting story about the work you're doing there.
Yes, yeah, and we're actually up to over 500,000 to homes.
Oh,
truly.
Awesome. Incredible.
Yes. Now, the London service, that was an awesome pilot where we actually delivered blood samples, hospital to hospital. It was a great use case of what we can do. And, in the U.S. specifically, what we're focused on is getting those packages to homes, which is a totally different problem to solve, right? Every front yard, backyard, it's going to look different for every home we're delivering to. And so that was a really exciting project that our team has been tackling for years, as you can imagine, but it's truly a reality today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, Teresa. I just want to stop. I want to make sure everybody understands what they were just watching. Did everybody just see a drone delivering food being dropped down from a drone in somebody's driveway? Okay, and here we are. Jesse, tell us a little bit what we're looking at here.
This aircraft, this is the aircraft that is in service today. So what you'll see, it's lightweight. There are redundancies, of course, safety first. But this aircraft is flying in places like Dallas, Charlotte. Our first site in the U.S. was Christiansburg, Virginia. But we've got more than 20 sites in Dallas alone. And so this aircraft is specifically designed to get those packages to our customers every single day. They do charge. They've got different missions throughout the day, but it's been really exciting to see it grow.
And I see that, and correct me if I'm wrong, by summer 2026, wing drone delivery will be available at Walmart supercenters across multiple major U.S. metro areas, including Atlanta, Charlotte, Houston, Orlando, and Tampa.
Yeah, this was a really exciting announcement from our company. Walmart's been a great partner to us, but in May we made drone history with a commitment of 100 new stores for drone delivery. So Walmart is seeing the benefits of what their customers can get access to with that speed and convenience, and so we're really excited to bring it to even more markets in the coming months.
So, with so much happening and exploding, this almost seems like a strange question, but what's next on the horizon for Wing? It seems like there's so much already on the horizon. Maybe anything else to add?
There is. There's actually, so we were very excited at Oshkosh this year. We flew a mixed fleet demonstration. So what that means is the aircraft we have on the set today is in service. We're very excited about that. But we have a larger aircraft coming in service very soon. So that is on display in our booth, and it is flying in demos. But what is really interesting about this aircraft is we have more than doubled the payload. So now we're looking at 5 pounds. And you can imagine that just opens up a whole new world of possibilities for our customers.
More wings.
Yes.
More lemonade.
Yes.
That's really what...
More eggs, more baby formula.
Oh, wow.
Yes, exactly.
So what's the best way for those who can be affected and impacted by Wing to learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, so if you're interested in getting drone delivery, I mean, again, our flight times, once we're in the air, it's under 5 minutes on average, which is just really exciting to see. So if you want to see that for yourself, wing.com/getdelivery, that will tell you if you're eligible. If you're not eligible yet, you may be very soon, and we will let you know.
Right. So a couple other questions, just thinking about the logistics of this. Obviously, here in Oshkosh for the past couple of days and anywhere, weather, wind,
of course,
all kinds of situations, even like checking out the drone, like how it seems to be built to be able to accommodate these things. Tell us a little bit about those logistics, how you manage them, and kind of the parameters you all can work within.
We have an incredible team that is, we design, we manufacture, we operate these drones. So we very much are always focused on what's the next thing our customers and our partners are looking for. That does include weather testing, right? So what's the high heat? What's the cool? We do fly in light rain. So we're constantly looking to continue to push those capabilities while also making sure our partners and our customers are getting taken care of.
That's incredible. I was even reading, one of the maybe testimonials on your site and talking about, you think about all the use cases for this, but about, older folks who maybe aren't able to get around, like, families being able to get things to them in a very, simple manner. It's just really incredible.
Yeah. We had somebody that said, what's your demographic? Who uses this? And I'm like, believe it or not, we have quite the age range. We have elderly folks that maybe don't want to drive every day. They don't want to get on the roads. We can get those packages literally delivered to their front door. Meanwhile, you got those tech-savvy teenagers that are loving that they can get their DoorDash order, their Walmart needs, their charger they forgot, very quickly through our partners.
Can you tell me what it looks like deep down in the Wing laboratory where these drone pilots are moving all these wings and Panera lemonades around? Can you paint a picture for what this looks like? I imagine it must feel like an episode of Star Trek or something.
Yes, there's a lot of screens, as you can imagine. So our picks, our pilots that are they oversee a geographic area. So there's no joysticks with the drone design, and what they're really focused on is a geographic area. So what's the weather look like? Are we safe to fly? Do we have helicopters in the area? Our picks are critical to our business. Meanwhile, we have aircraft that can complete the missions, land on the charge pads, kind of get ready for the next delivery.
Awesome. Well, once again, want to make sure we get the URL. Is there anything else that for people who want to check out Wing?
Yeah, check us out on social. We're at Wing on most platforms. Otherwise, go to wing.com/getdelivery. We'd love to be servicing you soon.
Well,
fantastic.
Keep your eyes in the sky for the Wing drones out there making all kinds of deliveries. Jesse, what a story. Congratulations. Wishing you continued success and growth. It sounds like you've got everything under control. And I'm right outside Orlando, so I look forward
Great.
to taking advantage of this
We will
next summer.
We'll see you soon.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Jesse.
guys.
That's Jesse with Wing Drone Delivery. I told you day 4 was going to be a banger. It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. We have more great conversations coming. Teresa,
Yes.
from the big, beautiful bill and depreciation to Wing Drone Delivery. We're already off to a hot start.
A hot start, yes,
Yeah.
yes. This has been a great morning already, and thank you for joining us. We're going to introduce our next guests now. We have John Zimmerman, the CEO of Sporty's Pilot Supply, or Sporty's, and then we have Josh Harnagle, who's the COO of Redbird. Welcome, both of you. Yeah, you're welcome. It's great to have you. And so let's talk about the initiative that you guys are working on together.
Yeah, well, Redbird's been doing the Redbird Migration Flight Training Conference for a number of years now. What we think at Sporty's the premier flight training event in the industry. Josh and the team at Redbird came to us last year and said, we would really want to take this to the next level. Would Sporty's be interested in partnering with us to put on and promote the show? And it was a quick yes for us. Absolutely. We're, as you know, passionate about flight training at Sporty's, and so it was just a perfect mix of what we care about, what we want to do. So we're really excited to dig in and get working with Josh and take migration to an even higher level.
Well, that is fantastic, and yes, a lot of people I know of Sporty's because you sell a lot of pilot supplies and things, but really the roots are in flight training, and that's really one of the things you guys are most passionate about. I think, right?
It's what we care about. We were founded by a flight instructor
Yep.
64 years ago, and we still care about it. We still run a flight school today, so that's always what we've appreciated about migration is we're really hands-on, whether it's our online courses or our flight school. We really understand the struggles and rewards of flight training at a very deep level. And I think the Redbird team does as well. So it's a little bit lighter on the fluff and a lot heavier on the practical tips and advice that we really, you can see it when you know it, and we've seen it there, and that's why we're so excited to partner with them because we know that a stronger flight training industry and more successful student pilots is good for the entire industry.
For sure. Yeah, fantastic. Well, Josh, one of the things that I mentioned the other day, I think when we were talking, is how I've always been impressed that Redbird is just constantly thinking of new ideas, new ways, innovation, and certainly we see that in your products. But I think the Redbird Migration was a great example of that too. When you guys were still kind of a little nascent company, you started thinking big and putting on this migration. And even at the beginning, a lot of companies would join. You would get good attendance, but it's growing and growing since then. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about? I think you were even there from the early days, weren't you?
I was the event coordinator on Migration number 1. And Migration is kind of a unique conference. We don't have sponsors really. We don't have exhibitors, and our partnership with Sporty's is a partnership. It's more than just Sporty's writing us a check, right? We thought a long time about who could we bring into this into this conference that would understand the goals and the spirit of it, as well as bring a lot of value from their knowledge, their sort of corporate and internal knowledge of flight training and the customers that they have. And Sporty's is the obvious choice for that. I mean, they have, like John said, have been in the flight training industry for 63 years. They're still on the cutting edge of that, and in places that we're not. They're really helping the individual student learn at home, in a ground school, things like that. And I think they can bring in some additional insight that'll be useful for our customers or for our attendees at Migration. And overall, I think it'll be a great partnership, and hopefully it'll continue to grow and hopefully spread the message a little bit. They also happen to have a big following on YouTube, so that should help.
Well, that's something we're definitely excited about. Is these guys do such a great job at Migration of capturing so many of the sessions on video. They do not spare any expense when it comes to the AV budget, and they have some great content. We're really excited about getting that out to an even broader audience after the show. So lots of people attend Migration. We're always limited a little bit by who can come because Redbird does a great job of hosting Migration, usually at airports or aviation spaces. They're not going to be at a hotel conference room, which is great, but that does limit who can be there. So one of the things we're really excited at Sporty's is to get the knowledge that is shared at Migration, which is so valuable, and get it out to more flight schools, more flight instructors, who can't make it to the event. And I think there's tremendous opportunity there, and we can't wait to get started on that.
Yeah, fantastic. So when is the next migration?
So migration is always done in March. This year it's March 3rd and 4th in Lakeland, Florida at the Sun and Fun campus.
Oh, fantastic. It's a great place to have it. A lot of facilities there. Yeah. And if people wanted to come, how would they get involved?
Just go to migration.redbirdflight.com, and there'll be a way to sign up to get notified when we open up registration, and we can go from there.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Anything else you guys would like to add?
I think I'm good. John, you have anything?
The only thing I'd add is if you're not sure about migration, not sure what it's like, you can go watch some of the videos from previous sessions and get a good feel for it. I think you'll find Josh is being modest. This is not a sales pitch by Redbird. This is an industry event, and some of the content is just world-class in terms of practical, applicable stuff you can use tomorrow as either a line flight instructor or a flight school manager. So if you're not sure about migration, not sure what it's all about, go check out some of those videos. I think you'll be really, really impressed. I know we were.
Yeah, thank you. And I was at one migration several years ago, and I was impressed. And certainly the caliber of the people that you have that come and do some of the talks is incredible, like no other place. So so congratulations on that, and congratulations on the partnership. It seems very synergistic. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, and we hope we see you there, too. Lisa.
Thank you. All right, thanks for the invitation.
Okay.
I probably will be. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Josh. Sporties and Redbird partnership. Thanks for bringing that story with us and letting us announce that and share that here. All right, we're going to keep moving here on Oshkosh Live as my man Bo is coming up to the desk.
Right.
This is another great segment, very cool product to share, great story to share. We got Bo with Bravo Golf making his way to the anchor desk, getting settled in. He's got his water bottle. He's staying hydrated. He looks good. What's up? Let's make sure your mic is good. Oh, here he comes.
Here we go.
All right.
Here I am.
There we go. All right. Fantastic.
Well, we are
see
here.
you guys.
Awesome. We are here at Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. The show continues. Another great guest. Want to introduce Bo with Bravo Golf watches.
Yes,
I just
sir.
want to say, Bo and I met just a couple days ago at the flying party, and it was actually just two bros admiring each other's style.
That's right.
I have it, and clearly he does as well.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what guys do at cocktail parties. They give each other compliments on their looks.
100%.
And it started, we were just chopping it up, and he just fell into, I think I just admired the watch before I even knew he had a watch company, and he showed it off, and then the story went from there, and I'm actually really excited to share that with everybody here, Bo. So anyway, first off, welcome. Great to see you again.
Good to see you.
So maybe for everyone at home, let's maybe give us the origin story. Tell us about Bravo
course.
Golf, and
Absolutely.
give us a little high-level overview.
I love that you asked me about the origin story first. Most people say, tell me about the watch, but
Yeah.
I can't tell you about the watch unless I tell you about the origin story.
Yeah.
So I'm a commercial pilot by trade. Flew for about 7 or 8 years professionally. I always loved watches. I always, was a fan of the Breitlings and the Balls and the Bell & Roth. Beautiful timepieces. But you have to save for those, and as you go, that becomes sort of a signature piece that you want to get. I thought it would be cool while I was flying, though. As a flight instructor, what do you make an hour? $10, $15 an hour as a flight instructor. I remember my first flying job, I towed banners on the beach, and I got paid like $8 an hour to do that. So you're flying for passion, like all of us are. So, but you don't make a lot of money. So it's really hard to have nice things. So that's what gave me the idea initially. I said it'd be so nice one day to have a high-quality timepiece that pilots could approach that was a little bit more affordable, but that also concerned itself with their feedback directly. So that's how we started. We actually sent a survey out to pilots on social media, and in 7 weeks, we asked them, what do you want to watch? I had 6 or 7 features I wanted them to rate. In 7 weeks, I had over 1,800 responses.
Yeah, I was reading about that.
Yeah, it was crazy. So it was pretty remarkable. I thought I might have 100 people respond. So when I saw that number come through,
Because pilots don't have opinions.
yeah,
right?
exactly, right? Yeah, they're all very opinionated. So, which is okay. I can say that because I'm a pilot, so it's all right. But it was great. We took that data and we created our first product from there.
Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to get a close-up, but I think the face of this watch really needs to be, and not to put you on the spot, Bo, to kind of describe what people are seeing, but clearly a watch, like the phrase you use, for pilots by pilots. But what you explained to me the other day, like really the philosophy on what you were going for. Would you mind kind of sharing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our philosophy is to do less but do it well. So we're less complex, we're less bulky, and we're a little bit more affordable. So what we heard in the data is that most pilots on their wrists really just want a quick GMT to local conversion. So that's what we created. So if you see our watches online, if you go to flybravogolf.com, you'll see that we have a crescent window on our watch. That is the GMT time, and the hands are the local time. GMT watches have been around for a long time. It's nothing new. So we took that and we iterated on it. So instead of having a 4th hour hand, we just removed that and we put the GMT time in a crescent window to make it a little bit more intuitive.
It was a great quote of yours, which was, the cockpit doesn't fit on your wrist and it's not supposed to.
That's right,
That was very
man.
astute.
That's right. You know, it's interesting. I never used an E6B on my watch. You know, I never used a slide rule or anything like that because all of that stuff exists in the cockpit, you know, and there's enough distractions out there already. So we just wanted to make something that was simple, didn't add to the distractions, and, you know, at best could help you with your GMT to local conversion.
Yeah. If I can jump back, because there's one of the things I wanted to talk about was your survey and all the responses you got. Like, what were the loudest voices as far as, or things that you heard maybe the most on repeat as you went through all those responses?
You know, it's actually really remarkable. I'm a bit of a data nerd, so we had quantitative data and qualitative data. Quantitative data is numeric. Qualitative are comments. So in the quantitative data, the highest rated feature was we want a quick GMT to local conversion. And that was it. It was just give me something that's easy to understand those 2 time zones. But when I looked into the comments and the qualitative data, the most remarked point that people made was we want it to be durable. It's got to last. I'm in the cockpit. I'm banging it on stuff. I'm walking around with it. So we actually put sapphire crystal as part of the glass. It's got PVD-coated stainless steel. We give you a 2-year manufacturer's warranty. And I've had mine in 4-degree weather. I've had it in the ocean. I've had it in the lake. You know, I've put it through the rounds, and it's held up. So it's very durable.
And I also see that you customize it by doing some etching on it for everybody as well. Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, you know, this ultimately, I wanted to help pilots celebrate and commemorate their journey. There's so many milestones that we all have as aviators. So I thought it'd be a really cool thing to offer a complimentary engraving of your airman number or a date that's specific to you, like your solo date or the date you passed your check ride. So we offer that at no additional charge. You get 12 characters on 2 separate lines, so 24 characters total. And you can do that online at checkout.
So we're here at Oshkosh. No shortage of pilots.
Sir.
No shortage of opinions.
Right.
Again, reacted very immediately when we were talking the other night. What are you hearing here?
You know, it's a great question. So this show is as much for me about research as it is about selling watches. We've had so many of our current customers come up to us, and I always have 2 questions for them. I say, how did you hear about us, and what made you decide to buy the watch? Most people hear about us online or through, Flying Magazine. We do ads with you guys.
Yes.
And so those are the channels, but they say, you know what, it's just a really clean watch. It's super simple, and I understand it when I look at it. That has been the feedback across the board. And that's very helpful for me because that helps me, informs our product development life cycle. So you'll see some additional timepieces coming out this spring that follow that, sort of that philosophy.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Certainly, no shortage of directions you can go in the watch spaces, like you said, as you expand the line. But is it too much to think about? Like, are you a watch company? Is that where you see the company being down the road, or do you have your eye on anything else? Can you share or not? Or?
We are a watch business. There are so many lessons to learn and relationships to gain in this industry, and we're just going to focus on that lane. We're going to stay in the timepiece lane. But what you can see, we have some really, really cool collaborations coming through. I'll mention one that we're doing already. The Wright family of the Wright brothers reached out to us a year ago, and they said, would you consider licensing our name for a limited edition watch run? It took me half a second to say yes to that. I was like,
how cool.
Yeah, of course. And so we actually produced that with them last summer. It is available for pre-order now. They will be shipping in September. But I worked with Stephen Wright and Amanda Wright directly on that. They opened up the family archives to me. And that series has some very cool Easter eggs. We pulled some things from history that have been lost and incorporated them into that series.
Wow, that's incredibly cool. So for all the people who are clearly going to have the same reaction as me, they're going to want to check it out, learn more about your story. What's the best places for everybody to find you?
Well, if you're here at the show, come see us. We're Hangar C, booth 3168. We'll be there for the rest of the week. I'll be there. My team will be there. I'd love to meet you, love to say hello. Online, you can get to us at flybravogolf.com. And at Instagram, we are at flybravogolf.
And I just want to say, for hanging out with you the other night, you're awesome ambassador for the brand. It was great chatting it up with you.
Thank you, Sean.
And hearing your story. So no doubt that this will succeed because you're there to tell that story on behalf of it. So check it out. Bravo Golf watches. They're super slick, super cool. Thank you, Bo, from Bravo Golf, for joining us this morning on Oshkosh Live. And we're going to continue the show right now. We're going to throw it to another feature story from our sponsor, Redbird Flight. The sky is a good place to start. Take it away.
So I think if you had asked like 6-year-old Kat what she wanted to be doing, probably would have said astronaut, and that was where I was wanting to go for a long time. I mean, it's taken a different form, but I think that's really where like the love of aviation, that kind of stuff came from. I started in high school, and then as I went to college, a lot of what I wanted to do, like my professional life, or what I thought the direction was going to be, was kind of life sciences. So I studied biology, loved that kind of stuff. Aviation was almost just like this hobby on the side, as silly as that sounds, but I found a great community doing that, and so it was like the more time I spent with the community and around airplanes, airports, like kind of just immersing myself in a lot of those opportunities, I think the more is like, well, we'll just see how far this goes kind of thing. And it turned into like this really incredible opportunity I never thought I'd have in the Air Force. So really pleased about that. But yeah, it was a gradual process. I think I was lucky that I was able to pursue it mostly as a hobby and not necessarily consider it as like a big professional aspiration at the time. And it just, grew from there. It was a newer program, hadn't been established yet. I just heard that it had been pitched to the school district as this is something that we'd like to include as part of the STEM curriculum. And they were on board, which was incredible. The way the curriculum was structured was very much in line with what the FAA looks for as far as ratings. So it was great because it was like a classroom environment. You got to be there with your friends. And then the instructors they had were awesome to kind of instill that passion and excitement for just how cool like flying and aviation could be. But it was very much like, okay, one semester was FAA private pilot ground school kind of stuff. So really just starting from there, and then with the end goal being to go take that 50-question FAA exam at the end of it and pass at least the ground portion. And so a lot of the courses were structured that way. There was an instrument course very much along the same line. So kind of taking what the FAA requires of those things and what a flight school would really provide, and then bringing that into the high school curriculum, which was amazing. I went to the Air Force Academy, and so just kind of continued. I didn't think I wanted anything to do with the military, but was really lucky to have the opportunity and to pursue that and explore that career path. And then obviously give back in some form of service as well, which has been amazing. And so I went to the Air Force Academy and was just continuing exposure to flying and what the Air Force does and their involvement there and all the different career paths that you could take that are involved with aviation. I think that's something that I learned early on was you don't just have to be a pilot to be involved in this kind of stuff. There are all kinds of ways to integrate with the community in aviation and flying and to still play an active role there. I went on after graduating to combat systems officer training, which is in Pensacola, Florida. And then from there, now I'm in a weapons systems officer on the F-15E, the Strike Eagle variant. And that's been incredible. So it's like still being involved, not as a pilot, but like involved in the community and getting to go through training and then do all these really cool things from there. So this was a thank you note I sent to the first teacher I had that really was a mentorship in aviation for me. It was Mr. R is what we all called him, and he was the guy that came with a vision to the school district to start an aviation program at the high school, and then also encourage us to become part of it, and provide us the resources and mentorship to continue pursuing those dreams. I said, "Dear Mr. R, I've been meaning to send this to you for a while now. Just over 2 years ago, when I accepted an appointment to the Air Force Academy, there were two things I knew. One, that I was agreeing to join the military, and two, more importantly, they had a flying team. There's a whole list of things I should have done more research on, including what basic training would be like and potential career choices down the road. But I focused most of my questions on learning about the flying team and how to get on it. It was a long 6-month tryout process, but now I find myself humbled to be one of the 9 cadets in my class to have had the opportunity to be in the most advanced airmanship program at USAFA. I'm sending you one of our team patches because it is the most sincere thank you I can possibly give. Without your enthusiasm, vision, and mentorship, I would not be able to wear that patch on my shoulder of my flight suit. Thanks to you, I will never forget the sky is a good place to start."
So another unique thing about this airplane, as old as it is it's not a completely hydraulic airplane. So modern airplanes nowadays are hydraulic and fly-by-wire. We still fly this airplane with a manual cable to the elevator. So that presents unique flying control courses that we have to overcome and get practiced on. And it makes flying the airplane a joy once you could get it all working and harmony together. So my experience with Samaritan's Purse so far, I've got to take Christmas child boxes to Israel. I've got to take relief supplies for a flood in Brazil. I did relief supplies to Ukraine for landing in Holland. And all of those missions allow us to serve a community that is in need of hearing the gospel. So it's joyful for us to be able to do that. The plane itself, I think probably the most unique thing about loading it would be the fact that the cargo is forward of the passenger section. And so most of the weight is forward. And so the difficulties can be when you have a bunch of passengers in the back, but not a lot of freight up front. So when we were doing relief missions, to Ukraine, through Poland, we were taking Ukrainian refugees to Toronto. And so we were flying back basically empty as we took a bunch of supplies forward. And so the creative thing was trying to find out how much ballast was needed to have the weight forward in order to counteract the passengers all being in the rear. We've recently acquired a 767, and that one is going to be a tremendous increase for our capabilities. It's about 3 times the volume of space for cargo from my point of view, as well as just the intermixing of different pallets and cargo that we could take just by having that more space. It's going to increase the tremendous things. So that's our next step. So we also have a 757 that's been with our ministry for about 2 years already. And so that one's a smaller cargo airplane, and we've been able to have it go global reach by making more fuel stops than maybe the DC-8 has had to do. But between these 2 cargo airplanes, we'll be able to do things regionally in North and South America very easily with the 757 and internationally easily with the 767. Neither of them are passenger variants, so we had their cargo only. So we are still looking forward to trying to figure out how to recover the passenger missions that would allow us to bring the field hospital, which we can now put entirely in the 767, yet still bring the field team that goes along with it. So the cargo and the medical team are together on site at the very instant we land, and they can hit the ground running. Oh, look here. Yeah, 10 years ago, this airplane ushered in heavy transportation for Samaritan's Purse. And in the same way, the 767 will be a game changer and usher in a whole new age of transportation. As an example, it takes 3 of this airplane to take a Tier 3 emergency field hospital around the world. We will be able to do the exact same thing on 1 airplane, so 3 times the capacity of the current airplane that we have here behind us today. The retirement year is this year, 31 December. We plan to retire it, and the question is always asked is, what's next? We do not know. Right now, we're developing options, whether that's a museum, whether that's another organization that takes it over, or whether it's just time to put it to bed. We'll see how that works, but we're going to trust in God for his plan. So it's the last U.S. registered E3 flying in the world today. Yes, there is another one flying in the DRC in Africa, we believe, and another one that's Peruvian registered, but it's flying in Miami. So we always refer people to our webpage, SamaritansCurse.org, and there you'll find out all kinds of information. I think the most important thing is to understand that what we do is exactly what you see written on the plane there, where it says, helping in Jesus' name on the nose. We want people to know that when we go somewhere to represent Jesus, and we're trying to proclaim the gospel so that we can feed the more important spiritual needs that they find themselves in.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Here we are at Redbird HQ on day 4 as we're about to close out hour 1, Teresa. It's been an awesome morning with you. Great conversations, great innovations, so many cool things going on. I know many of you at home probably maybe watching this right now live or looking at Teresa and I saying, those are two very common people that probably put this entire show together themselves.
And they probably do it all the time.
But do not be fooled. It takes a conductor of a symphony to bring this all together, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. So we want to make sure we give a shout out and bring to the anchor desk our illustrious producer, Kaylee Nix.
I think you guys give me way too much credit because
Why?
I don't have a musical ear. This isn't a symphony. This is like...
What is it then?
We're across from the tower right here. We're catty corner. I'm like an air traffic controller this week.
Okay, better analogy.
You missed that. It was right up there, and you totally missed it.
I missed it.
You overshot the runway.
Beautiful analogy. And Kaylee, among the many things she does, not only producing Oshkosh Live, runs all editorial for Firecrown, which covers not just aviation, but model trains and boating and yachting and, I mean, so many cool things in your universe. So
the coolest thing, so we just had Wing Drone up here in this segment, right? And I've been writing about or orchestrating the writing about Wing now for years, since they first started their drone pilot. We wrote about them via the connection with Alphabet, and now we're writing about them expanding their purview to your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah.
That came from our transportation and logistics brand from FreightWaves. So we take that, and now we have this entire portfolio of brands that cross 4 different verticals. I think we're somewhere north of 37 different individual titles now, print and digital titles, digital only. We've got news, we've got enthusiasts, we've got video. We've got, basically, if you want it, we have it in our media portfolio. Obviously, we're here focusing on the aviation group, which is important to bring to the forefront. We're at Oshkosh. But, you know, we touch everything in our audience crossover. If you're an aviation geek, chances are you also probably have a vested interest in other nerdy things like model railroading.
That's right. Well, before we go talk about the wider view of your role, I want to talk a little bit about putting the show together because, like I said, you know, you're behind the scenes, putting the show together. You're out in the field putting packages together. She was on the Goodyear Blimp yesterday. You're going to see that package later today. So tell me a little bit about the mentality of, you know, when you go, you know what, it's Oshkosh Live season again, I got to get started. Tell me a little bit about the air traffic controlling of this particular production.
Well, so you know how people are always like, my Christmas planning starts on the 26th of December? Mm-hmm. Last year, the planning for this year's Oshkosh Live started on I think it was the 28th of July. Whatever, the show wasn't even over yet. Our show was over, but EAA as a whole was not over yet. And we were already thinking about what was going to happen for 2025. And for those who are probably new viewers to us, maybe this is your first time watching Oshkosh Live. Maybe you're joining us for the second time. We really appreciate that. I'll give you guys a little bit of background. In spring of 2024, I think it was the end of March. So, you know, we're talking about a quarter, 4 months before Oshkosh Go Live Day, EAA grounds open. The folks at Redbird came to us at Flying and said, hey, we want to put on a college game day style, very kind of high-level overview of what goes on at EAA. We want to have a focus on Redbird as the company. We want to be your title presenting sponsor. They go, we're not a media company. And we were like, okay. They said, but you guys are, so let's do it. And I'm not one to back away from a challenge. I love, you know, the energy here. I love trying to put my thoughts into something like this. So we were like, yeah, let's do it. So last year, with about 4 months' notice, we planned what was a 5-day segment last year. We ran for 4 hours, you know, to preserve the integrity of our sound with the air show that starts in the afternoon. And it was kind of this amalgamation of the brightest minds in aviation, the people who have cool products, things like that. So fast forward to this year, we had a year under our belt, and we were like, let's make this even more incredible. We had a ton of buy-in now from our editorial staff across all of our aviation brands. And you see that in some of the interviews that they bring to the forefront, right? Yesterday's conversation with Larry Anglisano and Blackhawk Group, who was on this morning, they were slated for 30-minute conversation. They went for almost an hour, just because that organic conversation is something that the viewers really care about. And it's an experience and a chance to experience what goes on at EAA for the folks who maybe don't have the means or the resources to come and join us. And Teresa, you're with us here on the stage for the first time. You just became the group president of aviation here at Firecrown this year. And I want to throw it to you a little bit and pick your brain. How has your experience been in the media side of things? Obviously, you came from Lightspeed, so you were in the equipment world. Now you're here writing, talking about it. And how do you feel you have a very unique perspective from us, from how we do a good job of covering the industry and being those high-level, I guess, coverage source?
Thank you for asking that. Here at Oshkosh, I've had the opportunity to meet some of our writers and editors for the first time, and some of them are people that I've read their profiles and I've read their articles over the years, and but to meet some of them in person, it just is mind blowing, the amount of expertise, the dedication, the passion, the people that are participating in all of our brands, whether it's Flying Magazine, Plane and Pilot Magazine, Planes Magazine, AvWeb, the digital only aviation consumer. I mean, they're all here. They're all covering their beat, and they bring, in some cases, decades of experience. To and they build their own airplanes. They're flying their own airplanes. They live in the community, and they have the ability to bring forth stories from the community. And so to really get, of course, I've been a subscriber to Flying for many years and read the publication, and I've been a pilot for almost 30 years now and stuff. And so so all of that, but to kind of be on the inside and on the backside of that, and to see it is just I hope for our viewers really can appreciate the absolute depth of commitment, also to the kind of the integrity of everything that we're covering. And so that's been really, really not an eye-opener, but really kind of humbling, I think, to me, to see that. And then, of course, we've got our sales team who's here, too, who are, that's the other side of the equation in a media business, and also just people who have been, in some cases, with their publication. Firecrown's kind of a new amalgamation of all this, but some of as we acquired the titles over time, some of them have been with their publication for 20 or 30 years as well, and are well known in the industry, and so it's fun to travel with them and just see the respect that our advertisers have for our sales team as well. So it's an incredible group of people, and I'm just really proud to be able to join the team and help out, kind of putting this whole thing together. And so it's been great.
Sean, you asked me about, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but you asked me about what it takes to put on this level of production, and I would be intensely remiss if I did not verbally say thank you to every single person that it took to put this on. And obviously we've shouted out Redbird, our title sponsor, a ton, but every single one of these segments has a sponsor that is supporting us behind it, and we say thank you to them at the end of every single segment. But I also have to, shout out the staff at EAA, the grounds crew here, the people who built the Redbird booth, the people who are going out and bringing their PR company here, the people who said, hey, you know what, we're with Wing Drone, why don't we bring the drone to the set? That's the type of stuff that really makes this tick and makes it work and makes it worth it for you guys. We have to, thank the people who fill up the golf cart every single night with gas, because without them, I wouldn't have gotten over to the Goodyear Blimp without having to walk like a mile and a half and taking an hour. That's the type of stuff that I think is the unseen help behind the production, not to mention the production team themselves. And it doesn't happen without this intense, cohesive work between all of these parties. So I'll get off my soapbox. I'll get off my diatribe.
There's no soapbox
with
there.
A giant thank you to everybody that was a part of this. And
Absolutely.
a thank you to the viewer for being here and supporting us as well.
Yeah, and again, speaking of behind the cameras, behind the scenes, Rem Show has been such an incredible production partner in bringing this all together. Want to thank them as well. And again, Kaylee, you've just been a great, tremendous air traffic controller this week. Again, 16 hours of content with probably, 5, 6, 7 different packages within each hour. And all the breaks, all the throw-tos, all the live shots in the field, moving Starlinks around to get to our remote segments. It's really something.
You've been the man of the stats so far this week. So before we let everybody go and transition into Larry Anglisano with Aviation Consumer, I just want to throw out some really fast stats. Initial stats for the people who have watched us. We have reached over 180,000 people just over the 3-day span. And that's sending out this stream across, I think it's 9 different networks, from YouTube to social media to our websites. The power of broadcast is still really alive and well for an event like this, and I'm really proud of that. But it brings people into AirVenture that may not have ever, one, known about this event or may not be fortunate enough to be here and attend it. And what that really does is that continues to drive the mission of growing interest in the aviation community, and it continues to drive forward the growth of young aviators. So we're, not that we're being altruistic, but we're helping the future by bringing attention to it. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for letting me get up here and talk a little bit and explain and shout out everybody. And hey, we'll see you in 2026.
I mean, I'm hyped. I think next year we do 7 days. I think I've got more in me.
That's
Do
a
you?
lot. That's a lot.
But we've got the content. I mean, I think on year 2, it really, more and more people wanted to get on board, and the packages have been much more, so many more of them, and very interesting. And so it's really been a great production.
And one last
well
plug
done.
before we let everybody go. If you missed any of this, go to our YouTube channel, Flying Mag's YouTube channel, Kit Plane's YouTube, AvWeb YouTube, or our Airline Geeks YouTube channel. You can find replays of our whole entire shows from all 4 days. You'll also find the individual videos of all the segments that we did. I have about 4 hours of bonus content, so we really could have had another show tomorrow, but I've got bonus content that's going to be going up as well, an Oshkosh Extra, if you will. So find us there, find us on social media, subscribe to our magazines, all of the above.
Awesome. Kaylee, again, it's been an awesome week. Thank you so much for all the support. And we're going to keep it going. I know it sounds like we're wrapping up, but we've got hours of content still to come, some of our best packages of the week. But now let's turn it over to Larry Anglisano with Aviation Consumer out in the field. Stay with us at Oshkosh Live, powered by Red Bird Flight.
It's happening. Okay. It's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Yeah. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a red bird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a red bird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Aviation Consumer Live, part of the Fire Crown Oshkosh Live series. We're here at the Rotax exhibit with Mark Becker. You know, in yesterday's live segment, we were over at Black Hawk talking about PT6As. This morning, we'll pull the power back a little bit and get back to a budget that maybe even I can afford.
There we go.
Talking about Rotax engines. And, you know, it's an important market for Rotax, I think. You know, the existing aircraft engine market has got some issues, right? We've got prices higher than anybody has ever seen. We've got long delivery times, and we got backlogs at the shop. So Rotax, I think, is important. And, you know, nobody knows the engine market better than you do, Mark. What do you see in the current engine market? We'll talk about that, and then we'll look at some of these Rotax engines, and then we'll step outside and look at some of these Rotax-powered airplanes. Let's talk about the engine market in general. What do you see?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. On the market, I think the last year's been actually pretty good. We all know after the backside of COVID, it really kind of went crazy, actually, to the good side. Then it still kept climbing quite a bit because there was still a lot of backlog with the OEMs, which kind of helped through the years. But that's kind of stabilized. Now this year it's kind of being a bit slower, especially also for us, mainly driven by the fact that we have a lot of European manufacturers. Then importing into the US, as we all know currently, is somewhat of a bigger challenge than it used to be. Yeah. Plus we see a little slowdown on some of the items. People kind of holding back, waiting on what's going to happen. So compared to last year, we have a slower start for sure. Let's see what the rest of the year will bring. Yeah. I think we're still doing good, but sometimes you get used to the good only.
Yeah. Well, maybe the market's slowing, maybe it's not, but Rotax engine technology isn't slowing, right? If you take a walk back in time, we started with what was the engine nomenclature for one of the first Rotax aircract engines?
Oh, that's so long ago, I don't even remember. But
I remember
what we did is obviously we started with the two-stroke engines derived from snowmobiles back when, because we realized that's actually something which would be a perfect fit for an airplane. And then over decades developed, I think, like 12, 13 different variants of two-strokes. Before in the 80s, we finally started doing four-strokes engines, starting with a 912 UL at 80 horsepower back then.
Yep. Let's look at some of these engines, and you've got them planted here in the exhibit. Let's start with the 912.
Yes.
Got a 912 and an airplane I'm getting ready to fly. The more I operate this engine, and I've flown the 912 series in a bunch of different applications, the more I like it. Simple to operate, single lever, runs smooth, starts quick, and pretty reliable now too, right?
Thank you. Well, obviously, it's especially if you come from a different engine, moving to another engine. I think that's true for everybody. It's always a kind of an adjustment because it's like flying. You sit in a plane, you know what you're doing in that specific plane. When you fly something which is a little bit different, you kind of have to adjust it. Once you have gone through that, actually you enjoy it a lot.
It is different because it revs kind of high, doesn't it, compared to a Lycoming or a Continental?
Correct. Yeah, well, that's the first thing that you obviously see over here is the gearbox. Any engine is running on gearbox, and the main.
Let's go take a look.
Yeah, absolutely. So the main benefit we see in here, we can run the engine at its optimal speed, and we can still make through the gearbox that the prop gets its optimal speed, which usually are not the same. So what we see here, that's the 100-horse carbureted engine. So it's the second engine which actually came after the 80 horsepower. So still, as we see, carbureted engine, but all share the basic same concept, a four-cylinder boxer engine with an gearbox on top to run at the optimal propeller speed.
Electronic ignition?
Yes, correct, already. Constant depression carburetors, so already less to deal with, but still carbs which need synchronization because we have two of them. Electronic ignition already here.
But it's not a big deal. I'm not a carb guy, right? I love fuel injection. I've gotten rid of motorcycles that have had carburetors because I just don't want to deal with them. But on the 912 that we just installed, we did a carb balancing, and it's really not that bad.
No, it's more to actually do it. Just do it.
It's more to get
learn
set
it,
up
do it,
and do it.
You'll be fine, yes.
But, when you get these things, when the carbs are synced, you know it. You hear it, you feel it, you got them running good.
Absolutely.
Sort of the entry-level engine for the GA market, I guess. How many applications does this 912 series work for? And why do you still offer the engine with carburetors?
Correct, yes. So that's engine been here since the 80s, and it's still actually one of the big sellers because there are so many applications. I think we're talking roughly about 250 aircraft models you would still find with these engines. And especially even the TACNAMs we see today, a lot of them still run on that carb engine, which means we have a lot also in flight schools, and they will continue to operate for a while, which means we will continue to sell this engine for quite a while.
Yeah. Big topic in the market right now is fuel.
Yes.
And sort of the claim to fame, or one of the claims to fame with these Rotax engines, is they can burn auto gas. Talk a little bit about advantages and why you'd really want to burn auto gas in these engines.
Correct. So the approach we took on that back then, we already realized that it's got to be not only simple in operation, it's got to be lightweight, it's got to be just perfect fit for the use. We also realized that the fuels and fluids you run on it needs to be agnostic as much as we can. So from the get-go, we developed all of the engines for the use of motor gas, and aft-gas was kind of but it has to run on it too. But these engines actually do prefer MoGas, which you see on the maintenance schedule. You have much less maintenance to do if you do run on MoGas, because otherwise you have to deal with the lead, which we don't want. Others need it, we don't want it. So that's kind of the opposite direction we're taking there. But it gives you the option you can still run on aft-gas if you needed to, but preferably, obviously, you will run it on MoGas.
Give a short summary of what that maintenance, looks like.
Yeah.
Running auto gas and 100 low lead.
Well, in a very simple rule of thumb, the maintenance hours double if you switch from aft-gas to MoGas, and that's more than 30%. Aft-gas, you're going back to the old maintenance. So, for example, 200 or 400 hours for the spark plugs. Just to give you one example.
Okay.
Oil, 100 versus 200 hours for the change. So you actually double your time between maintenance if you use the MoGas, besides the cost factor.
Yeah. Quick tour of the engine. 2 carburetors, a couple of K&N air filters, right? Yeah. Talk about the ignition system. They don't call them magnetos on these engines. They're called ignition lanes.
Yes.
And talk us through what we're seeing here on this.
So we have 2 ignition modules here running on them. We have 2 individual spark plugs on each side, so even if we should run out of one system, we still have a second system to run on it.
Okay.
So that's kind of a redundancy which built in there.
Yeah.
Pretty simple actually to begin with, but again, with that built-in redundancy, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
Not that we ever needed it, but yet it's one thing. It's also that's one of the things you check upon your run-up check.
Sure. And no mixture control.
No mixture control.
And put both ignition lanes on.
Correct.
Hit the switch and it fires.
Correct.
Briefly discuss the gearbox.
Yeah.
On the front of the engine.
Yes.
Get a camera shot of that.
So as I said before, the idea is really to optimize the speed of the engine itself to make it run at most efficient RPMs, especially allowing us to be smaller and therefore much lighter. Okay. At the same time, a propeller always has a certain speed he prefers. You don't want to deal with the tip speed, and the losses are coming with that. That's why we have a 2.54, I think, on this one gearbox ratio. Okay. So the engine will always run 2.5 times higher than the gearbox, which, as you said correctly, is something you have to get adjusted to, because you see the engine RPM is just so much higher, but the engine is designed for that. It can run full power all day long. Yeah. It doesn't mind. Yeah. That's what it's designed for.
I'll go out on a limb here and say that these engines are sort of pilot-proof. So you smack a prop, you got a sudden stoppage. Yeah. What goes on in a gearbox that might save you where you might not have that backstop in a Lycoming or a Continental?
Correct. That's a nice addition to that. We're running an overload clutch in there, so when should you have a prop side or any other issue on the prop side, the overload clutch will kick in, which will prevent damage to the rest of the engine. So what you do is you do a check on the gearbox, you do some checks on the engine itself just to ensure. But 99% of the time, that's all which needs to be repaired, besides this little prop in the front of it.
Yeah.
But the engine will continue to work.
Yep. Simple oil filter. Looks like the filter on my Honda engine.
Yes. Yeah, it's a pretty simple oil filter to begin with.
No safety wire.
No. Hand. Because it works.
Just don't need it.
No, you don't need it.
Twist it on.
You twist it on. You do it hand-wise. You can do it by hand.
Gasket. Yeah. Let's move to the injected 912.
Absolutely. So that's one we see over here. First introduced in 2012. Okay. I think the major thing you don't see carbs, and you have a big airbox taking care of that. Okay. And please. And the one thing we don't see yet, you have a FADEC system controlling the engine. That's helping another. It's like we have a modern car industry. We have an electronic control of the injection and everything in the engine. Okay. We have lots of sensors making sure the engine runs fine, but also we have an electronic which can react to whatever happens. Fuel, for example, every fuel will have different quality, meaning it will have properties of burning. The IS series will detect that and can react to that to a certain degree, which helps it also to run more efficiency. So here we're talking something like in the area of 4 gallons an hour on cruise speed, which is very efficient.
Yeah, I've been flying around in a 912 IS equipped RV12, and boy, it doesn't burn a lot of fuel when you really pull it back. It's an efficient engine, and it does run smooth. Is the gearbox the same on the injected 912 as it is on the
Yes, it is.
on the carbureted?
It's just a different color.
Yeah, just different color. And what else is different on this engine? Any of the wiring harnesses?
Correct. You have a little bit more wiring because of the electronics, and that all connects to
Let's
the...
look at these harnesses here, if we could.
That all connects to what we call the ECU, the engine control unit, which is essentially the FADEC for the engine, or the brain of it.
Yep.
The basic principle of the Boxer is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Because it came from that heritage. We didn't just invent the wheel newly. We built on what we knew, we built on the experience we had, and just fine-tuned for what we think would be the next generation of engines here.
Yeah. Are there more applications for the fuel-injected 912 than there are for the carbureted, or vice versa?
We're still, from a legacy point, a little more on the ULS, but especially over the past 3 years, we saw a pretty significant move over from the ULS to the IS engines. So in terms of sales, it's actually even, with this engine outperforming this one by last year already. And obviously that's a continuous trend.
Yeah.
This is more on the legacy fleet, now more on the replacement market. This is still more in the entry into new OEMs and new models.
Yeah. Are the maintenance intervals the same from a fuel standpoint?
Yes. Again, there's differences between AFGAS and MOGAS. Interval is pretty much the same, except you don't deal with COPS anymore.
Yeah. Okay. What's next in the lineup?
Well, let's move over from based on this. We took that engine and added a little turbocharger to it, and turned out to be this engine, which is a 915 IS engine. So we're talking 140 horsepower takeoff instead of 120. You see a little step forward, a little evolution on the gearbox.
What's different about it?
Well, it's 2 inches longer, which is the most important one to get to. Is the interior is a little different. It's a little beefed up. Obviously, we're dealing higher torques here, dealing more, but still the same concept of an overload clutch. The technical context is a little bit different to make it easier on the maintenance side. The rest is pretty much the same. Obviously, the color helps you to depict it, but airbox, all the rest, the cabling's all the same. So the installation differences are not that much besides the turbocharger down here and the intercooler for the turbocharger, which needs to go somewhere.
Yeah, let's talk about this turbocharger as far as operation and maintenance. You talk about turbochargers on more traditional engines, and you sort of wake up in cold sweat in the middle of the night, but pretty simple to operate, right?
The only thing you can actually do to harm this turbocharger is not cooling it down after you used it.
Okay.
That's really the only thing you should be aware of. That if you really had a flight where you're actually using it, use your time to taxi back, use your time to idle for ideally 2 minutes. Then you won't talk about, and especially you won't dream about that turbocharger anymore. That's the whole idea of it. It's actually an in-house Rotax design. We do it ourselves.
Okay.
But there's an important decision from us back from a 914 where we learned, let's do it in-house.
And let's get a shot of the intercooler, right?
Yeah, the intercooler's not in. It would be in between these two hoses here. And depending on what installation you would put the intercooler rather at the front, combine it with the oil cooler. But here we don't have it on display.
And this is 140 horsepower?
That's 140 horsepower takeoff and about 135 horsepower max continuous.
Okay, so how do you operate it? So you're climbing. Well, first of all, what's the sweet spot in altitude with this engine? Where's its best?
Usually most people would run it anything between, depending on the application, like 60 to 75%. If they want an economic cruise. Obviously, we always have people who want to go fast. They would usually continue to go at max continuous speed, which is then the 135, which usually ends up taking them to, like in this GMB, up to 160 knots. Which is pretty impressive for a small two-seater, I would say.
Yeah. So what's the sweet spot in altitude? 15, 16,000?
I would say wherever the pilot feels well. The engine actually doesn't care, because up to 18,000 it can produce full power. And it will adapt to it. It's really down to what the pilot wants and what kind of an airplane you're usually using for it.
Okay. So I've always wondered what the difference between the 915 IS and now we've got the 916 IS too, right?
Well, actually, there's two things. One is whenever we bring up a new engine, we take the learning and take it to the next one.
Okay.
The second one is more horsepower due to a different mapping.
Okay.
So
that's a 16 over there.
That's over
Let's
here.
go.
So if you want to walk from blue to gray, from the outside you wouldn't recognize the difference except for the color.
Okay.
So outside is the same. It's really learning from the interior. We had about 24 parts which have been changed. To increase the TVO despite it being at a higher power.
Yeah.
So now we're talking 160 on takeoff versus the 140. And we have a little different setting, a little different mapping. This one was more on altitude and altitude performance.
Okay.
But we realized over time that people are not using us as much as they asked for in the initial terms.
All right.
So we kind of optimized the mapping a little bit, down to the point where at the same cruise speed or the same power request you're having, this engine can use up to 20% less fuel.
Okay.
So it's even more on the efficient side, yet at takeoff it takes more power. Then, however, it would also take more fuel.
Good. Well, I guess we're out of time. I could talk engines forever. I love
Be my
modern
guest.
engines. But I thank you much, Mark.
Thank you.
For a good demo. And thanks again for watching another issue of Aviation Consumer Live, part of this Fire Crown Oshkosh Live series. And see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, Kayla McLeod here with Plane and Pilot Magazine, and this morning, day 2 of EAA AirVenture Oshkosh. We are here in Hangar C, and I am with Ryan Braun, the COO of UAvionics. Ryan, thanks so much for having us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to just see what's going on at y'all's booth here. I think it would just be super awesome to see what's new with UAvionics, maybe do a little walk around of the booth, so to speak, and maybe hear if y'all have any exciting updates or discounts for show attendees.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're here early hours before we open up, so it's not very busy yet, which is nice. But we had a great day yesterday. A lot of excitement for some new products that we've introduced. We have both experimental products and then certified products. And the big news this year is that a number of those things that were experimental last year, we've now gotten through FAA certification, and we're selling over the counter here at the show. A lot of those relate to our AV30 product, which is a primary flight display, so attitude indicator, directional gyro. But we've added a lot of new capabilities, especially around IFR flight. So we've added what's called HSI, which is a small adapter that we can show you and demonstrate the capabilities of. But it allows full IFR course guidance, horizontal and vertical, when paired with an IFR navigator or with a VHF Navcom. We also have autopilot adapters to connect to older analog autopilots, like an S-Tech system, as well as digital autopilots over an AirLink interface. So what we've done is we brought a lot of the existing equipment that the pilot has in their cockpit, and we've enabled connections to those things, which is really a big value add for the customers who currently were flying VFR and wanted to make that connection, but not have a bunch of legacy equipment, legacy HSIs and things like that.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to take a look.
All right.
Let's get into it.
All right, Kayla. So this is a stack full of our AV30s here. We have 4 AV30s, one of our AV20s, and then a trio autopilot here.
Awesome.
So this is kind of a typical cockpit that you might see, very well equipped, having this many of their digital instruments. And then we have an Avidyne IFR navigator here. So this could be a Garmin navigator, could be a modern Avidyne navigator, or it could be something that's pretty dated. They all have the ability to communicate with their instrumentation here. So one of the new things that we've added is this adapter right here. It's called AVHSI, and it enables all of these things to speak together. So when we released the AV30 a number of years ago, it was a really, really nice standalone instrument. So it functioned on its own. It didn't connect to other AV30s. The AVHSI basically sets up a network, creates a network for all of these to talk to each other. So when you change your barometric pressure on one of these, it updates it on all of them.
That's
when you
awesome.
update your set altitude or your heading bug, it updates on all of them.
And when did y'all roll that out?
About a year ago into the experimental space, but in the certified space, it's just been in the last 2 months.
Wow.
We got right around Sun and Fun time, we were getting the certification in.
That's what I thought. I
So
thought it
it's-
was a newer to the certified line.
It is, yeah. And this is very, very, very popular. I mean, there's a lot of folks who've been waiting for this capability. It really changes how you can fly with these instruments.
Fantastic.
In this case, we're hooked to this Avidyne Navigator, and it is in a simulator mode since we're sitting in a hangar here. But what you'll see is the same course that's being flown here is being reflected on all of these displays here. So we have a number of different representations. This is an attitude indicator display, but it is also displaying underneath here with the little purple pointer, the course. We have this one set up in a DG mode. We can also pull up an HSI presentation here, so it's showing the waypoint in the distance. If there was vertical guidance, that would be showing as well. So that's something that we weren't able to render before. We could only do horizontal. This is this new CDI display that we have, again, of that same information. And then this is showing traffic coming over one of our Sentry products, overlaid with, again, that same course guidance. And in this case, right now, it's just flying a straight line, so nothing too exciting. But curved holds, all of those things will appear there. So it really connects up everything where you have your MFD here back to your primary flight display right in front of you in the scan. And however you want to look at it, whether you want to look at it represented on your attitude indicator or on more of an HSI or CDI display, we can present that information.
A really, truly connected cockpit.
It is. That is what we've been pushing for a number of years here. So the connection to, obviously, your navigators is really important. Connections to autopilots is equally as important for a lot of customers. The Trio autopilot here, we really, really like. It's a modern digital autopilot, and we have a great connectivity to that as well. So we're able to bring in the information from the navigator, whether that be GPS navigator or VHF Navcom, and pass that information on as well to the Trio. So we can do heading bug type things, but we can also do GPS steering and really have a complete setup here that incorporates, again, things from other manufacturers, works really well with those, and does the best presentation that we know how to do here. There's another very interesting thing that we're doing that isn't about what you have in the cockpit today. It's about iPads and connectivity with ForeFlight, and I can walk you over and show you that at another station here.
Yeah, let's check it out.
All right. So we spoke a little bit about the connected cockpit, and this is really what we see as the ultimate evolution of that. What we have here is an iPad running ForeFlight. This is a version that will be released very soon of ForeFlight. Then you have an AV30 below here. What you don't see just below is a Sentry. So it's the product that we manufacture with ForeFlight that provides ADS-B traffic and weather reception. But these things are all designed to work together now and work together really, really seamlessly. In the past, if you had a Sentry and an iPad, you could see traffic, and you had synthetic vision that was based on the attitude sensors in the little portable device. What we're able to do now is actually pipe all of the information from the AV30 up in your iPad, and all the information from the iPad back into the AV30. So the attitude display, the certified attitude that we have here, is now mirrored in the synthetic vision in ForeFlight here, as well as things like indicated airspeed, your altitude, alerts that may go back and forth, things like carbon monoxide alerts that we would get from the Sentry, and things like angle of attack. So what it's really done is taking this, and we say this is the MFD on your knee. So you've got a knee pad, you've got a yoke mount for your ForeFlight. People are obviously using that every day. I mean, almost every pilot you talk to flies with that. And they may still have a GPS navigator that they're using for approaches and things. But day to day, really, we think most of the entering of waypoints and everything is done on an iPad for people. So we wanted a way to bring that back and bring that information back into the AV30.
And this is out now.
This is just being released.
Okay.
So there's a version basically that both ForeFlight and us has to release at the same time to make this happen.
A lot of,
but this is coming very, very, very soon.
Wow, very cool.
So what the really unique functionality that we have here is on this screen here we're looking at traffic, and we also have a flight plan here. So if we hit flight plan, right now we've got a couple waypoints in here. Those same waypoints and guidance are being reflected on the AV30. So the magenta line that we had there is being reflected there. So if we take and as pilots do, we just want to make a little change here with the magenta line. You drag that,
There
and
it is.
and you do that. You'll see it update on here as well.
How cool.
So this.
That's always been such a pain, doing one thing on the iPad and then having to go and do it manually. And wow, this makes everything seamless.
Yeah, and this is really, this is a great way of VFR flying, right?
Yeah.
This is what pilots, we think, and from a lot of folks we've talked to, really want. They want this to be their primary multi-function device with an array of primary flight devices like the AV30 that are able to show that information front and center. Because you don't want to be staring at your iPad the whole time trying to get course guidance, of course, but you can do that here.
That's fantastic.
So we see that map display, but then we'll also have the guidance, like an HSI type of display, but it's using the waypoint and cross-track error and everything that's coming off of the flight plan on the iPad. So we have really neat bidirectional communication. This is for VFR use. And then we also have layered on, if you're an IFR pilot and have the IFR equipment, IFR navigators, you can also choose to use that. And you can switch back and forth between these depending on what type of flying you're doing. So we think it's a really, really compelling package. If you have an autopilot, it can even steer the autopilot. So again, VFR, but the same course guidance that we're getting here can direct the autopilot.
How long has this been in the works?
About 4 years, a long time. Everything in aviation takes a while.
Absolutely.
And it's really been putting together a lot of pieces to get there. So it wasn't one thing that was introduced. It was over time we've built this up. And from a certification standpoint, UAvionics has always done a lot of really unique things. And it's not always in one big burst. A lot of the time you have to lay the groundwork. So the things that we're doing with the AV30, the type of certifications that we're doing, and some of these features that we're bringing in, you have to make those safety cases over time. And you have to bring forward why, for example, it's okay to put traffic information on this display here. So putting traffic onto a display like this, which we're showing right here. So the same traffic information we have on the iPad is shown here, but it's what's called non-certified data. It's coming from a Sentry. So making an argument to the FAA of why that is a safe thing to do, that the value of having that traffic information front and center is more important than having it be from a certified device, just takes time. And we've been able to do that.
It makes common sense to me, but
It does. Yeah, as pilots, we look at these things and we say, well, that makes a lot of sense. It's going to be really safe.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of hurdles you have to get through. And we've been very focused on that for the last 3-4 years.
That's fantastic. Wow. I'm very excited about this one. And this is something that I'll definitely be using when I'm out and about.
It's awesome.
That's wonderful.
I flew with it a few weeks ago in a panel that we had 4 AV30s in.
Okay.
Typically, most pilots have had 2 AV30s. There's really a good argument now to get an additional one, maybe replace your VSI with something that has a lot of this CDI traffic capabilities and still can show your VSI information as well. So a lot of pilots are interested in upgrading their panel, but doing it kind of a piece at a time, not having to rip everything out, tear out a panel, and put in something completely new. They can do it a few $1,000s at a time.
Sure. That's fantastic. Well, let's see what else you've got going on.
All right. Got a couple other things that we're showing here. This is a new product we're just introducing to the experimental space, and we've submitted for our TSO certification on. This is a new transponder. So we've typically been very focused on non-traditional ADS-B devices, Sky Beacon, Tail Beacon X, we're very, very well known for. But sometimes pilots just say, why don't you make a normal transponder? Something that's lightweight, low power, something that I can install, especially in an experimental aircraft, under the seat maybe, somewhere that is different than the hole in the panel that you're used to with your typical KT-76A. So this is our answer to that. This is called the Echo ESX, and it's a remote mount transponder that has a built-in certified GPS and built-in ADS-B transponder, and connects to the AV30 for control. So setting your squawk code, getting your barometric pressure altitude, all of that happens from the AV30 in the same way it does with our Tail Beacon X product. So this has been years have requested us saying, well, we'll see if we'll come around to doing that. But we've really heard from the customer that they want that. So this is, yes, just about to come out in experimental, certified. We expect the TSO probably in the next month or so. And then beyond that, we'll have an STC, I would guess, early next year for anyone in a certified aircraft. That involves using your existing belly mount transponder antenna and then adding, if you don't already have one that's available, a GPS antenna to the top of your aircraft. We also have one other thing here. This is AVHFR. This is something we're working on. It's not available for sale yet, but it's a VHF nav receiver. So it's, as you can see, it's just a headless receiver. So it's not a whole new radio that you're putting in your panel, but it can receive your VHF nav data. And we're showing that here in a CDI view. And so that's able to, of course, tune in your VHF nav frequencies, ILS as well, so both horizontal and vertical, and show that. We're still working through some of the certification pathways for this, but it's really going to be a unique capability because we're able to tune in multiple nav frequencies and essentially use it as a GPS backup. So triangulate positions based on that.
Fantastic. Wow. Y'all have so much going on, and I just can't believe it. Every time I'm talking to y'all, you guys have something new, exciting coming out. I mean, I have been spending a good bit of time with the team, being in Montana now, checking out the facility, and what y'all are doing is truly impressive, and I think it's incredibly innovative. So
thanks,
good on
Kayla.
y'all.
Yeah, it's a powerhouse team. We got a great team, everybody from engineering through manufacturing and sales. Really unique group that we've got.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting us chit-chat this morning and checking out the booth. And, yeah, we hope I'll be seeing you around. I know
awesome.
it.
Yeah, enjoy the show.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
It's happening. Okay. It's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Get. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Welcome back to Redbird headquarters here on Knapp Street in the shadow of the Air Control Tower. I'm here with Ryan Ewing. Good to be back with you.
Good to be back, man.
All right, an hour and a half of show down. A lot more to come, including our next guest, an incredible story. You're going to love this. I'd like to welcome to the anchor desk Russ Keith, Operation Airdrop. This is an incredible story. Russ, thanks for taking time to join us on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Well, maybe a quick boilerplate for everybody watching at home. Tell us a little bit about a synopsis of Operation Airdrop.
So Operation Airdrop, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. What we do is we fly in supplies to cut off areas after natural disasters such as hurricanes. Recently we deployed down in the Burnett, Texas area with the floods in Hill Country and Kerr County and other counties involved. But, just kind of give an idea of what we do. We had 106 airplanes fly in with supplies, and then we loaded all those supplies out on Black Hawks and Chinooks and flew them over. The National Guard helped us out there. we moved about 78,000 pounds of recovery equipment and other supplies that they needed. They'd give us a very specific list. I'd put it out on our social medias, and it just show up. It was pretty amazing. The aviation community is incredible.
So Russ, I'm actually from that area, and I saw all the posts you guys did and all the work you all were doing. Talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges you all faced, because I know one of the biggest problems they had, especially out in the Kerr County area, after the flooding, was that they were trying to bring in supplies, and the military and search and rescue operations were going on, especially from the Kerrville airport there. What kind of challenges do you all face in moving those supplies in and out while keeping those TFRs and everything else in mind?
So, and that's the big thing, is just trying to stay out of the way.
Right.
Bring in the needs, but stay out of the way.
Right.
We could get squawk codes, and if we needed to get supplies into those areas, but we didn't need to do that on this particular deployment. We had trucks and trailers that we were moving supplies up until the guardsman came up to me and said, "Now we know who you are, what you're capable of. We'll fly for you." And I said, "Great," because I'm looking for a helicopter right now.
Right.
There was a cutoff area, Lago Vista. It was about a 10-minute flight, but it would have been about a 3.5-hour drive because the roads were washed out. So I said, "Can you take this load of chainsaws over to Lago Vista?" And she said, "Absolutely." So we loaded up. They reached out to dispatch, got released, did their little, it takes about 20 minutes to do the checklist on a Black Hawk, and they got up, flew away, and delivered them for us. And that was the first mission of many that we utilized the Black Hawks. So it was incredible.
So you all are based up in Denton, Texas, right?
I live in Louisville. Doug Jackson is the person that formed Operation Airdrop, and he lives in Decatur.
Okay. So this, big state, but this also kind of hit very close to home.
It was right in our own backyard.
Right.
Our last one was Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. We had about 200 fixed-wing flying out of Concord, North Carolina. Right. We had about 135 helicopters flying out of Hickory. And then there was a North Carolina group that we helped, and we had about 50 of our airplanes, including myself, that was flying out of Statesville. But the helicopter operation, they've split off now and formed their own organizations, so we're kind of sister organizations now. But
with the the flooding in Texas, the impact of that so fresh, maybe you could share what moments or memories or stories from some of the work that you were doing there. What stays with you? Some of those moments and memories there.
Just a quick breakdown is my wife and I, we were in Boston for the 4th of July. Of course, the 4th is when it hit.
Oh, yeah.
I got a call on the 5th, and it was basically from people in that area. They said, "Hey, can you help us coordinate supplies?" They got a very specific list from the emergency manager in Burnett County, and I said, "Absolutely." I said, I've got a flight tomorrow at 7 or 4 o'clock. I'll get home at 7. I'll be down there Sunday morning. So I got up at 3 a.m., jumped in my truck. I drove down there. It's about a 4-hour drive, so I got there at 7. We set up in the CAF museum building there at Burnett Airport. Phenomenal people. They worked their tails off all week for us. So my hat's off to the Commemorative Air Force and the Lake Highlands squadron down there. They did a great job for us. We literally got the list out that afternoon before I flew down there. While I was on a plane heading home, we got the list out. When I got down there Sunday, it was still pouring down rain. We had 4 airplanes fly in full of supplies that were on that list. That's what stands out to me, is the response was almost immediate. Pouring down rain. Monday, pouring down rain. We had like 7 airplanes fly in IFR with that list. The next day, of course, the sun came out, and we had 39 airplanes come in that day. And in trucks and trailers and in cars and all sorts of stuff kept flowing in. And then every day the list would change. They said, "Well, we need to take this off the list, but we need to add this to the list." So I started asking for pickle juice, of all things. And I was like, "Well, pickle juice?" And I said, "Well, if you're cramping and you drink pickle juice, evidently it stops the cramps almost immediately." And all these guys were working down in they were looking for missing people. So they were cutting away all the debris and trees and that were all tangled up and, just trying to get in under it to see what's under there. And so, and also to clear it out so that when it rains again, it doesn't flood because of all the backup from all that. Because there were piles of debris like 30 feet high. Mm-hmm. And it was just a natural dam, and they had to get rid of that. So we sent about 175 chainsaws. But they started cramping real bad, so they asked for pickle juice. So we put out, we need pickle juice, and next thing you know, we've got 4 or 5 pallets of pickle juice coming in, 4 or 5 gallons at a time. And then someone saw our post who had a connection with Best Made Pickles. And so Best Made Pickles sent us 22 pallets of 1 gallon in an 18-wheeler. And he shows up down there and says, I've got 22 pallets of pickle juice. Where would you like it? And I said, give me a minute. And so I got a location. I said, just drive it over there. And he drove it right into the heart of the need, and they unloaded it there. It's just those sort of things just, it warms your heart because there's so much agony, so much destruction. And, there's a lot of people were hit with their heart when you think about 2 cabins of young girls washed away. We lost 28 children out of Mystic that they all drowned, and it's just that's the heartbreaking side of it. But if you get your mind off of that and you stay on the positive side, which is the only way to get through something like this, and then you look at the humanity coming from the aviation community, and I'm just blown away. I absolutely love doing what I'm doing, and I hate the reason why I have to do it, but it's got to be done, and I'll stand in that line all day long.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, the people of Texas, certainly, we're all grateful for the work you're doing, but maybe but obviously, certainly stretches beyond Texas. You were mentioning Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Can you share maybe a couple other events where Operation Airdrop was there?
So Operation Airdrop started in 2017 when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston. So Doug Jackson, our founder, owned a trailer company, and he loaded a trailer full of supplies and took it down there and realized he couldn't get it to where it needed to be. Being a pilot, he just reached out on his social media and says, hey, this is what I'm doing. Does anybody want to come help me? He had 15 planes that afternoon that showed up down there. And then next thing you know, everybody heard because everybody was putting it out on social media. And then all of a sudden, all this supplies started flowing in to this airport where they were operating out of, and they just kept flying stuff all over, those cut-off areas because the flood down there was incredible. And then he was someone called him from a radio station and says, what's the name of your operation? He didn't really have an operation. It wasn't a thing. It was just something they did. And he just said, it's Operation Airdrop. And so after that, he formed the 501c3 and the nonprofit there in Texas. And Hurricane Helene was our 15th hurricane.
Wow. No. Well, obviously, I know people watching this are going to want to learn more and support the cause. What's the best way for people to help or find out about you? What word can we put out there for support? So you
can go to operationairdrop.org. You can sign up as a volunteer or a pilot. And if, volunteering a pilot is not your thing, just hit the donate button. We've pretty well depleted. We wound up spending quite a bit more money than we brought in on in Burn It. So it'd be nice to kind of fill that bank account again, so we're ready to go for the next one because the heat of the hurricane season's not here yet. So we have a potential for at least 2 or 3 major storms this year, according to NOAA. So we need to be ready. So monetary would be a big help, so we can basically respond when we need to respond.
Well, Russ Keith, we're also very grateful for you and your organization for the work you're doing and continue to do. OperationAirdrop.org is the website to learn more and support this cause. Russ Keith with Operation Airdrop.
Russ.
Thank you so much, sir.
We do have a booth in Hangar B.
A booth in Hangar B. If you're here at Oshkosh watching us live, check them out. Learn more about the organization. Incredible work there, and thank you so much for sharing the story,
Thanks
Russ.
for having me on.
Thanks, Russ.
All right, let's keep the show moving. We're moving on to another segment where we're going to highlight and honor some FAA Safety Award winners. Check it out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kaylee Nix. We're here at Oshkosh Live as part of our Oshkosh Live 2025 program. Last year, we introduced you guys to the FAA Awards honoree winners, and we had some really great stories come out of those awards. And today, we're here with our 2025 winners, and we're bringing you guys some more great stories for some incredible achievements in the world of aviation. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to welcome Adam Boyd, Jocelyn Slagle, and Bo Hardison. First off, give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for being here to win those FAA awards, and we're happy to have you all. Jocelyn, I'll start with you. Talk to me a little bit about the awards program. Just give us an explanation about kind of what it is and what it means to be recognized.
Okay, sure. So the General Aviation Awards is a program that was created to honor those within the general aviation community that are doing great things and need just that extra bit of, hey, we see you. You're valid. You're visible to us. This is what is going on. It's a pretty long application process. Something in the requirements is like your average is going to be about 96 pages when you get this whole application put together. Yeah. And it is a lot. Lots of questions, lots of how'd you get here, what came about, a lot of the things you're probably going to ask us here shortly.
So a rigorous application process, as it should be, to be honored with, top safety honorees. And Adam, I'm going to start with you because you won CFI of the Year. Massive responsibility training up the next generation of aviators. Talk to us a little bit about your background.
So I started flying when I was 16. I was mowing grass and pumping gas at the local airport, right? Worked my way through my private pilot certificate. And after college, I went into the Air Force. So I've been flying active duty Air Force and in the Air National Guard for the past 20 years. But the whole time I've been doing that, I've been flying in GA at some capacity in a local club or at an FBO. I never stopped flying at GA. So
then, Bo, he mentioned pumping gas and cutting grass. That kind of leads into maintenance, I guess, in a rough way, not really. But, you're a maintenance technician of the year. Talk to me a little bit about your background and how you got into aviation.
Well, kind of like Adam, I go back to being a teenager, helping out at an FBO my father had and trying to do maintenance. And I got to wash and wax a lot of airplanes. They didn't let me pump gas. I really wanted to do that.
You guys all really paid your dues.
Yeah. So we've been around a long time. I went to school and got out and went into the corporate world and then got back into aviation and maintenance in particular, and then started my repair station back in 2011. And I love the community, I love the industry, and it's just a joy. And it kind of starts with safety first, and it ends with safety. So I'm blessed with the fact I get to work with great people like Adam and Jocelyn, and then the people in our state in Arkansas do a great job. And I travel around, and it's a wonderful industry and great people.
So, Jocelyn, your story, are you also part of the Young into Aviation crew? Did you also have to work for your dues?
I still am. Before I came here, the last rainy day we had, I scrubbed the underbelly of a Seneca.
Fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
And then someone had to scrub you afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about your pilot story. What was that journey like?
So I am a CFI now. I went through a 4-year program, got a bachelor's degree in aviation management, and then went on to get a master's degree in aviation safety. And someone asked me, okay, what are you going to do with a master's degree in aviation safety? Because you want to be a pilot, so you don't really need that, right? Well, becoming an FAA safety team representative was exactly my answer. And then putting on seminars and being able to help the community and give back in that way was really, really rewarding. And then it also helps with being a flight instructor, because what a lot of people don't recognize about the FAA safety team is it's totally voluntary. You can, you have a rainy day, you can't fly, you can go on the FAAsafety.gov and you can take a course on learning how to fly a glider. If you have any interest in doing that someday, you can go learn about anything out there that you want. All you have to do is know where to click, what to type in.
So, Adam, the CFI space is obviously incredibly crucial to the safety aspect of general aviation. If you don't train your pilots well, then you have a whole other big problem on your hands. Talk to me a little bit about why you remain an active CFI and why and how that feeds into your career.
So I am, like I said, I really have kept flying general aviation even through the Air Force, but I found that it's really important to take the professional experience that I've gained over time, and lots of CFIs move on to different professional careers. But I think it's really important to take that experience that you get out flying the line and bring it back to that younger generation of CFIs that are teaching now and the students that they're teaching. Bring that information back so you have some perspective on why you're doing It's on pilots or something like that. It seems mundane, but it means something later on. And being able to bring that perspective back into the community is super important.
One of the common threads across aviation, whether you're in GA or not, is that everybody seems to have this hunger for continuous knowledge. You're never stopping learning. You only become a better pilot if you are actively in the pursuit of knowledge every single day. And part of the FAA safety team representative, Jocelyn, in your role is delivering those seminars, like you said. What's been some of the most interesting ones that you've done, or what really gets you as far as topics?
So I did a seminar, and it's actually a topic of the month. So we have topic of the months that happen on a regular basis. But one of the ones they were promoting and they wanted us to teach was survival. What happens after the airplane crashes? And it's totally Alaska. It is surviving in the wilderness in negative 30-degree temperatures.
Yeah.
It is
like
awesome.
Into the Wild style,
yeah,
like live in an old bus,
Absolutely.
Commune with wolves.
Yeah. Hope you have a lighter in your flight bag. You're going to need it.
And then, Bo, to you, kind of on that same thread as far as maintenance goes, the maintenance of the aircraft, like I said, really feeds into that safety component, that safety aspect. What's most important for people to upkeep on a regular basis from a maintenance standpoint, or what's something that maybe people don't upkeep enough that they really should to guarantee their safety?
Well, that's a great question. So there's a lot of communication between pilots and maintenance and maintainers. And you have a responsibility as an aircraft owner and operator to make sure that your aircraft is in an airworthy condition. So what we specifically do in my repair station is non-destructive testing, but just your regular maintenance, changing the oil. These are things that a lot of people that are not in aviation don't understand. You can run over an oil change in your car, but you might really need that oil and it being what it needs to be inside of an aircraft. So checking that. The inflation of the tires, some of the stuff you do on a pre-flight before you ever get in the plane to make sure it's operational and safe. But mainly just communicating and making sure they're doing regular maintenance is probably one of the most critical things. And then if they really don't understand systems within the aircraft, then making sure that they have an understanding, landing gear, what the wings do, the control surfaces, things like that are just, they go hand in hand. And our job is really to make sure that there's enough going on inside of a cockpit. You don't need to be worrying about something else that someone like me or a maintenance technician can take care of so you don't have a problem.
Yeah, the unsung heroes of the aviation world, the people who take care of your airplane so you don't have to do it for yourself. So we're here at EAA AirVenture 2025. The common thread is, of course, experimental, the pursuit of aviation, the love of aviation, that continuing thirst for knowledge. There's a lot of future aviators here. You see the kids up and down Knapp Street. But there's also a lot of folks who are getting into or maybe are in the aviation space who are looking at some of the big changes happening. Yesterday, Secretary Sean Duffy announced that finally Mosaic rules are approved. They're coming to the industry. Let's just talk a little bit, Adam. As a CFI, what does Mosaic mean to you as far as what the future of the industry looks like?
I think it's a great opportunity to get some more people involved in aviation that otherwise wouldn't have a path. With the medical reform, we're going to have more people coming into the community, and now is the time to start setting yourself up for those sport pilots to come into larger aircraft. So I think it means quite a good amount of business is going to come into the flight training industry, and setting yourself up to be an instructor now and to be a competent instructor, that's going to mean a lot over the next decade as we invite all those new pilots into the community.
Jocelyn, to wrap up that same kind of thread with Mosaic for you, from a safety representative perspective and the seminar perspective, how does that change what you guys do going forward as far as teaching goes?
Promoting Mosaic and all the changes that are going to come along with it is going to be huge over the next couple months. I think another thing that hopefully the FAA safety team takes on is promoting CFI is a great thing. All too often, yes, there's time building that comes along with CFI. Yes, it's a great avenue to get to an airline. Yes, it's a great avenue for careers. But it's also a very rewarding thing.
Yeah.
And you have to enjoy it. And I think hopefully we're going to build more CFIs that are passionate about being CFIs, not necessarily passionate about making it to the next step.
That's a great point, and I'd love to hear that. And, Bo, just to wrap things up with you, does Mosaic have an impact in the maintenance space? Is that now something that people who, didn't have the intention of being CFI now wanted to only fly light sport going forward, now they're going to have to learn a little bit more? Is that also a piece for continuing education?
I think it ties in with our whole mission as safety team representatives, and, it's safety through education and knowledge. So anytime we're expanding that and you're learning more, no matter if it's within a system on the maintenance side or flight controls and operation of an aircraft, and then getting additional certifications and training, that's always a good thing. So the more people we can involve and encourage to participate, it's a great, the industry and the people as a whole, as you know, you don't meet any strangers.
Yeah.
Everybody just lives in a different place sometimes. So it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's going to do nothing but promote good things for the growth of our industry.
Well, guys, thank you all for being here. Congratulations again on being our FAA safety honorees. Before we let you go, it wouldn't be AirVenture if we don't talk a little airplanes, right? Adam, I'll start with you. Favorite plane that you've seen here on the field at Oshkosh, or what if there's a dream plane of yours here to fly, what is it? Is it the 747 that's out there?
I'll tell you, my favorite plane, and it's going to be kind of funny, my favorite plane is a Beech 18.
Okay.
And there are quite a few beautiful examples parked out here. And I like the lines. I like how it was designed. I like how it looks and sounds. I've never flown one, but I've looked all around them. I think they're beautiful airplanes.
Jocelyn, what's your favorite?
The B-25.
Okay.
My great-grandfather, I didn't realize this. I thought I was a first-generation aviator, but a couple years ago I found out that my great-grandfather flew the B-25 as a bomber.
Wow.
And so I had never seen it in person until I came here. So it's really awesome to watch it fly overhead all day long.
Feels like a little piece of home. And then, Bo, for you. And yours is a little different, right? Maybe favorite airplane, but what's your favorite airplane to work on, too?
Great question again. So we work on a lot of different aircraft, everything from a small Cessna 120 to the 777.
Yeah.
So probably the bigger aircraft because they present more challenges for us,
Yeah.
and it's never boring and it's always exciting. So
Well-
anything along those lines. I have gotten a chance to work on some warbirds and do some pretty unique inspections for those people that they're not out there anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's really difficult, finding parts for a plane that's over 100 years old.
Well, guys, thank you all again for being here. Congratulations one last time. Thank you all for watching. This has been Kaylee Nix at EAA AirVenture 2025 for Oshkosh Live, and we'll see you later.
It's happening. Okay. It's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Yeah. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a red bird near you and fly like you've been there before.
I help people.
I create music. I shape the future.
I am an entrepreneur.
I inspire people with more than words.
I ride forward. The sky is not my limit.
Find your blue at MTSU.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a red bird near you and fly like you've been there before.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. It's me, Sean Bean, here with, once again, the editor of Plane and Pilot, Kayla McLeod.
Hey, Sean.
What's up? We have a pretty awesome package coming up for you in a few minutes, highlighting Kayla's excellent adventure with the Goodyear Blimp yesterday. But first, we came across this TikTok that shows how the blimps get to Oshkosh.
Ready with me to go to Oshkosh. I'm super excited because I'm going with my sister this year, and we're kind of going to be the stars of the show. Anyway, I started with an everything shower, obviously. Need to make sure I look good. Shout out to the crew for going 80 feet in the air to make it happen. Then they give me a pep talk and belly rubs 'cause I'm kind of high maintenance. Anyway, then we pack up the ground vehicles. Speaking of high maintenance, we travel with 20 people and a dozen cars because the squad rolls deep. Then final fit check and it's time to fly. See you there.
Better way to lead into this next segment. So, Kayla, why don't you go ahead and tee up what the audience is going to be seeing?
Oh my gosh, Sean. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. I truly don't know how else to put it. 0.006 of Americans have flown on the Goodyear Blimp. So let's get straight into it. I wanted to take you all along for the ride, so let's go. Everyone, Kayla McLeod here with Plane and Pilot Magazine, and we are at Pioneer Field at EAA AirVenture Oshkosh, and we're about to go for a ride in the one and only Goodyear Blimp. All right, we just loaded up on the Blimp. This is definitely a first. I cannot wait. This is unlike any cockpit I have ever seen before. I've had the privilege of flying a lot of really cool stuff at Oshkosh, but this is unlike anything. We're literally watching the air show right now. The visibility is incredible. My only complaint thus far is there's no air conditioning, but that is like, who cares? We're on the Goodyear Blimp. All right, I'm here with Joe, one of the Goodyear Blimp pilots. We are up over the show right now, having the time of our lives. Joe, how did you get into flying the Goodyear Blimp?
You know, I ask myself that question every day. We all have different backgrounds. Come from different walks of life, have different paths to get here. I'm retired Air Force. I flew corporate for about 3.5 years or so. I dabbled in the airlines. Didn't like that at all. I was looking for another corporate job when I saw the posting for this. You know, it's different every day. Not a single one of you people showed up today for a Blimp ride saying, "Oh my gosh, I got to get on a Blimp today." And I feed off of that energy. We all do. Everybody's happy. We could have a bumpy ride. It's hot up here. You guys are still going to go off today and say that was awesome.
What's your words of wisdom for those young, maybe student pilots?
I would say just be a good pilot and learn as much as you can about flying, whatever it is you're flying. We got helicopter guys. We got guys that have come from airlines, like military, like me. You know, I mean, we have different backgrounds. We have a couple of our newest guys, folks are, the former instructor pilots. But the key is, learn as much and do as much in whatever aviation job you're doing, and until you get to the point. Learn a lot about weather, and then it wouldn't hurt to at some point go back and rehash a couple of those high school physics classes about Charles' Law, Boyle's Law, Archimedes' Principle and stuff, because you have to learn that stuff all over again when you become a Blimp pilot. The Blimp itself weighs, without any helium in it, weighs about 19,500 pounds.
Wow.
Full helium, today we weigh about 700 pounds, about 350 kilograms. We use kilograms, and we use cubic meters of helium for volume, because 1 cubic meter of helium lifts 1 kilogram of weight. So it's an easy math thing for us to work with. So anyways, right now we're actually heavier than air. So we got 3 engines, 3 Lycoming IO 360 4-cylinder 200 horsepower engines. There's 2,000 of them parked out on a ramp today, right? They're all over the place. So real common aviation engine. Driving our big 9-foot wide props up front, and then it drives 2 propellers on the aft engine. So when we take off, in order to get that 700 pounds that we weigh right now off the ground, we swivel those engines up, and that gives us our initial lift, kind of like a helicopter, right? Well, once we start moving through the air, the whole shape of the Blimp is an airfoil. So as we're moving through the air, we start to create our own lift. Now we can swivel the engines down, and they're just giving us thrust. They're flat, giving us thrust. We have 3 engines worth of thrust. And the rest of that just airfoil shape is lifting at 700 pounds. If we were to shut down the engines right now or pull them to idle and slow down, we'd lose that dynamic lift and start to sink. So as we take off and climb into the air, that helium expands. The whole big airship's filled with helium. Inside there's two airbags. So as that helium expands, those airbags deflate. We use those airbags to regulate the overall pressure. When we descend, that helium will contract again. Those airbags will reinflate. At night, it's cool out. That helium's nice and condensed. The sun comes out. It expands. Those helium bags deflate. We fly underneath a cloud here today, and it's going to cool down a little bit. The helium will condense. They'll reinflate. All day long, those bags are reinflating and inflating in order to regulate the overall pressure on the airship so it stays the same. So that's things you never had to worry. You don't have to worry about in an airplane. You don't have to worry about, oh, there's clouds overhead, so my airplane just became 75% heavier. Or maybe not that much. Let's say 25% heavier than it was 5 minutes ago. That's some kind of thing you have to think about with a blimp.
So how do you go about learning to fly a blimp? Do you go to type school, or it's not like you can go to your flight school and learn how to fly a blimp.
No, it's not like you go to the FSI and drop down $20,000 and get a type rating in it, right? All our training is done in the ship. There's no simulator. It's all done in the ship, and we don't have like a dedicated training blimp, so it's all done with the 3 ships. Any given time, one of which may be in its maintenance period. In between passenger rides and football games and then weather cancels and everything else. So it takes a long time to get the training done. And that's part of the reason. The other part of the reason is this thing's really hard to learn how to fly. I'm a 20-year Air Force career. I've got time in a bunch of different airplanes. This is the hardest thing I've ever learned how to fly.
And why is that?
Just because it's, like right now we're kind of flying like an airplane. Taking off, we kind of fly like a helicopter. We're always like a boat on the water in the current. Especially on a windy day like today. Sometimes all those things happen in a 10-second period. Sometimes you don't know which one it's going to act like, which one you need it to act like. So you're switching between all those little modes in a little 10-second period to get it on the ground. There's a lot of like little subtle cues and stuff that you pick up over time. It's not, every single airplane out there almost lands the same way, right? You got your approach speed, and then at this point over the threshold, you pull the power to idle, you flare, and you land, right?
Yeah.
And I know they're not all like that. I'm generalizing. So it's all saying this one, every single landing today is different. If it's 10 knots of wind versus 20 knots of wind, it's different. If we get a gust halfway through, it's different. If the landing in the evening when the helium's cooled down a little bit is going to be different than it was at the beginning of the day when the helium was expanded. So your weights are different. Your way it reacts in the wind is different. Every time is different. So it takes a while to really kind of come to terms with that and realize that, like, okay, this isn't like every other airplane you learn or helicopter that you learn to fly in your life. So it's a different way of thinking about a different way of flying. I don't like the term seat of the pants, but there is some more like feel to the flying than just the numbers. We definitely certainly have numbers and limitations and stuff that we watch, but there is a lot more of a feel for it. You're finding it all the time. There's no autopilot. There's usually when we're on a long flight, about every hour we'll swap out. But if Adam gets tired or you need to use the restroom, then I fly. That's the autopilot. There's no, there's nobody taking over for you mechanically.
Well, that's a great question. You mentioned using the restroom. Is there a restroom on board?
There is. It's right back there. It's actually got a window. We call it the loo with a view.
Oh, well.
And as far as I know, I think I coined that term. We all started using it a couple years ago, but I think I coined it. Yeah, the loo with a view.
That's incredible. So what speeds are you guys typically cruising at?
So right now for a passenger flight, we're going nice and slow. He's only going 30 knots. Mm-hmm. Our max speed, the book says 70. No way. That would be absolutely ideal atmospheric conditions, sea level, without any of the additional drag that we have on the ship. The night sign, it would add drag, antennas, and everything else. Realistically, on a pretty smooth day, we can get up to low 60s. If a day like today where it's bumpy, probably 45 knots would be about it. It'd be a really rough ride, much faster, 45 or 50. And then, of course, weather is a big thing for us. That's probably the hardest thing as a airplane pilot coming to and not being able to just, well, let's just take off and go around that storm or over it, but because you can't outrun it. You know, I mean, we're not fast enough. You can't go high enough. So really, a lot of weather things. We don't like to be anywhere in thunderstorms or near thunderstorms. We don't like anything that's going to add weight. So heavy snow, icing, and zero icing condition. We don't any kind of icing, even trace, man. We're out. And then winds, of course, they affect us quite a bit. And the ship you're in right now, we got a wrap on it to look like the original Goodyear Blimp, the Pilgrim.
That's incredible. Well, obviously a lot of history. What does it mean to you personally to be a part of something so historic?
It's cool because, I mean, this is so much more than an aircraft and it started off as a public relations and a marketing tool, right? But it's become so much more to that. It's become it's an icon. So, people, I get, there'll be one of the other few blimps in the world flying over some city in Ogden, Texas. Is that you out there? Well, no, that's, Joe Schmo's blimp, whoever it is. But if anybody sees blimp, they think Goodyear. And that's ultimately the purpose of it is to, we want people to think when it's time to buy tires that, oh, Goodyear, that's on the top of their mind. So.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Joe, for bringing us along today, and I can't wait to look out these big windows and enjoy the view and enjoy the air show from a completely different...
Yeah, it's a completely... And then the other ships out there flying around, he was just out here a little bit ago.
Way up.
So, okay, yeah, they're lower enough. But they're... you got pulled out. Yeah, that's a good idea. But, you don't often see other blimps from the air. So we don't operate near each other a whole lot.
My name is Meg Godlewski. I am a flight instructor, 22 years time and grade as of today, 5,700 and I think it's now 23 hours dual given logged. I'm in the Seattle area and I am a big fan of the Redbird because it's one of the best tools a flight instructor can have for teaching,
awesome.
Or for learning. Succinctly, learning is taking place, because we have a variety of scenarios both for the VFR pilot and for the IFR pilot, and they're designed to stretch your skills and also to show you where your soft spots are and how we can fix those soft spots, things you need to work on, things that can bite a pilot in the tuchus if they're not paying attention, like flying the RNAV approach when they should be doing the VOR approach or the VOR approach and not tuning it in correctly. And they wonder why they're not getting on course, and then it dawns on them they're not using the correct device in the machine, or just getting silly with the heading indicator and not realizing it's failed on you and now you have to use your magnetic compass, things that we don't really think about when we leave the training environment. So some of the surprises I've had today, I've had people who have had their instrument certificate or instrument rating for decades, but they rarely use it. Now, I'm from Seattle, where we have so much moisture and fog. Our children are born with gills and flippers, so this idea of flying in VFR all the time is alien to me. And I am amazed. Some of them have had very good training, I'm going to guess, because they get right back into the saddle, so to speak. As far as the VFR clients go, knowing what to look at on the G1000, because it's very distracting if you're not familiar with it. So anyone who wants to go from round dial to G1000, I highly recommend at least an hour or two in a simulator to figure out where to look so you don't have that moment when you get into the actual airplane, because that can be, well, unfortunate.
Sure.
And I'm picking up that a lot of people are coming in here. It's Oshkosh, where aviation is just the world. There's so much to see out there on the field, but they're coming in here to work on their skills. That tells me these are good people. These are good aviators. We need more people like that who understand that maybe they could use a little bit of polish or a little bit of education. Well, since most people travel to get to Oshkosh, I think doing something in the pre-PC tells you what you need to work on. So when you get back to wherever it is you're from, you can find an instructor and a Redbird, and you can work on it there. It's just basically like, you know what, I could do more homework at home. So I think it opens up the door for people who want to do more training, right? And this facility is wonderful because we have so many people in here and so many instructors. This is like our Disneyland. What I'd like to do when I've got someone who comes to me, ab initio, brand new, if I have access to a simulator, I'm going to have them fly a lap in the pattern in the simulator, because most intro flights involve a lap in the pattern, go out, practice area, maybe 10, 15 minutes, come back in. It gets rid of the, oh my gosh, what am I doing factor, because I've done it once in the sim. I show them how to use the rudders. I show them how to turn the plane. You don't have to yank the yoke all over the place like Speed Racer. I show them where the airspeed indicator is, where the altimeter is. I will do the radios because I already know they know how to talk, so that's okay. So we might go out and just fly a lap in the pattern, then we'll come back in, and we'll get the airplane, then go out, and I will remind them of what they saw in the sim as we're in the airplane. All right, there's your airspeed. So your airspeed's 90 right now, just like you saw on the Redbird. All right, now we're going to turn left to this heading, just like you did in the Redbird, using your rudder pedals, just like you did in the Redbird. It reinforces positive lessons, basically. Yes, I absolutely do. If I lived in Oshkosh, I would probably be in here probably every weekend teaching a class if I could, just to make it happen. I would love to get a bunch of maybe some college level kids who may be thinking about aviation as experience, and also for the kids who are having trouble with math, because flying is a lot of math, and this is a practical application of that. And I just think this is an incredible resource that we need to use. This is a Swiss Army knife, right? And we need to learn how to use all the tools.
So my name is Jeremy DeRusso. I'm the Director of Flight Proficiency Programs and Aircraft Operations for EAA here in Oshkosh. So behind me, the backdrop here is our Pilot Proficiency Center, which moved into its brick and mortar setting in 2022, opened up for AirVenture 2022. But for a long time down on Four Corners during AirVenture, and it was one of the more popular features and attractions. So what the advantage of moving it into its full-time home here in the brick and mortar facilities is it's a year-round operation instead of something that happened just once a year during the week of AirVenture. So what you're seeing behind me is 12 advanced aviation training devices, Redbird LDs, that now have a home 52 weeks instead of 1 week out of 51 in a crate. We've got briefing rooms, classroom facilities. We also do a lot of our in-aircraft programs. Our Sport Pilot Academy is one. We're bringing on some tailwheel programs, different things. So we're kind of growing that portfolio of offerings too. But this kind of becomes a big core component of it. As well, we've got a crosswind trainer, which we've integrated into a lot of our training programs, which has been actually highly instrumental as well as part of like Sport Pilot Academy and some of the other things we do. So what we've got here is really this unique facility that has a lot of uses. So obviously from a pilot proficiency basis for folks coming in and working on things that they're weak on, we offer things from come on in and rent a training device, bring your instructor, use one of our full-time staff instructors, fly by yourself. We have flight schools that come in and bring their students and their instructors, so we've got that. Then we create a multitude of programming throughout the year. A lot of that is programming that is half-day training where there's multiple breakout sessions, and then we've been spending a lot of time developing specific scenarios and things. A lot of it's been statistical based, like our startle effect, our stabilized approaches. Some of those are some of the things that we do on a regular basis out here at EAA. But the neat part about this training center and EAA is outside of AirVenture, it's really kind of an epicenter of aviation, general aviation, and it's neat to be here off season and do some of the stuff. So we've got a lot of unique only in Oshkosh opportunities that happen here too, where we'll put together advanced programming with some of our partners like Community Aviation, for example, where we've done our advanced IFR, where we're hosting dinners in the museum and behind the scenes tours and pictures in the Mustang, and there's all different kinds of things that we do. So it's kind of a destination place. We're bringing in a lot of folks. We've got some type training folks, type aircraft folks. We had the Bonanza pilot training folks coming in this year back in May. where we configured the training devices in Barons and Bonanzas, and they spent 4 days here with their particular programming, leveraging all that kind of stuff. They did in-aircraft, the whole 9 yards. So training device stuff, it was a really, really neat event. So we got quite the breadth and depth of things that we can do with the training center itself. And that's kind of what we've been working on and putting together over a period of time. And this is our fourth, 22, 23, 24, this is our fourth air venture here, and it keeps getting busier and busier every year. One of the interesting things that we do with the training center here is we've got this great test kitchen. And so when it comes to program development or being able to contribute in industry, for example, when we deliver our training programs that we've been doing this past year, we're really starting to hone in on the difference between a flight instructor in an airplane and an instructor in a training device. And so we're now being able to start to collect a lot of data on how to maximize instruction in a training device because we do it so much. So those are some of the things that we're really working on, dialing that in. We're looking at creating and developing programming and collaboration with the FAA and other entities in the organization, Redbird, a couple of others, of bringing things where we're able to start creating and developing programming and get that out to the general public and the masses to be able to go find training devices closer to them, but they can still get the same stuff that we're building, developing, testing here to make sure that it works and it's highly effective for the user, the end user, the learner that comes in to use. So those are some of the things we're going to continue to grow. Our in-aircraft training. Like I said, we're going to look at bringing on some tailwheel training. We're going to expand our Sport Pilot Academy, especially with Mosaic that just got announced this week. So there's different things that we want to do with there. We're continuing to create new weekend type classes or half day classes, and or weekend classes. We're expanding our portfolio of training and instrument. Right now we're kind of laughing back as we're basically building a box of Lego pieces right now that we're building these different things in these smaller modules. But for example, one of the ones that we're building up, we're going to start to beta test this fall, is we've got an aircraft that we're going to basically fill full of Easter eggs, and we're going to do a pre-flight kind of environment outside in our courtyard here with the actual aircraft. Everybody will go through, take a shot at doing the pre-flight with their bingo card, and then it's basically going to be driving around the first flight after an aircraft comes out of annual. And so they'll be able to get into the training devices, and hopefully maybe they caught something on the pre-flight, maybe they didn't. Who knows what they're going to come up with within the training device. But in that scenario, or that one particular example, it really kind of bootstraps the emotional component of it, where you're like, well, that will never happen to me. It's like, well, actually it just did, because you didn't pick up that the castle nut on the cable for the rudder was loose. It didn't have a cotter pin in it, and so now you have no rudder. So those are the types of things that we're very fortunate, and we've got the team and the support of industry to be able to do here and to elevate the level of training that we do. So I think probably the biggest lever that we can pull, that we can control, and my team will tell you, they hear me, I'm like a broken record here, but it's really understanding the value of simulation as it pertains to my personal proficiency plan. We get a lot of naysayers that come in. We get a lot of folks that it doesn't fly like my airplane, it's not as good, these types of things. And when you put them in these environments where they're like, oh, I couldn't really fly straight and level very well, and this is after a warm-up session. It's not just out of the blue, right? So we build those things into our programs. But all of a sudden they're like, geez, my scan was a mess. I went through this myself. I hadn't flown in several months, and I was training down in here in the early days when we first were building the building out in the facility. And, the light bulb for me went off. I was like, geez, I was all over the place with scan. My heading was off, my altitudes. And after 20 minutes, half hour in there, I could start seeing everything come back into focus. So I think if nothing more, being able to drive home to folks that come in and participate in the programs that they do, that they see that, incorporating this type of training as part of their personal proficiency is wildly important. And then if we do our job right, and we have been to date, because we've seen uptick in participation, and a lot of the stuff we're doing, same people keep coming back for more and more and more, that they're starting to realize that, yeah, this is of value to me, and it is something I should seek out more. And so for us, the vision is, as we're building these things, is to get a lot more of what we do and make that available for folks out there in the market space that can't physically be here in Oshkosh to attend some of these events, maybe outside of AirVenture, but hopefully we'll be able to create things that they can take advantage of back in their local community, back at home with their training organization and their instructors there. But they'll be able to get all the materials and everything they need into a valid, vetted type of training program that isn't something that's, hey, let's go for a flight, I don't know, what do you want to do, let's do this type of a thing. So that's kind of the desire of where we really want to get to, and we're slowly making strides.
Hello, everybody. Tom Wilson, editor-in-chief of Kit Planes Magazine. I'm here with John from Victor Sierra, and thought we'd talk a little bit about what Victor Sierra is up to lately.
Sure.
So, what is the mission of Sierra Aviation?
So, Victor Sierra looks for aviation companies that are legacy companies, legacy brands that have a strong customer following, have a strong reputation for quality products and customer service. And Victor Sierra then partners with them and gives them the resources that they might not otherwise have to be able to continue to grow their business.
Absolutely. And so, how do you select the companies in your portfolio?
Again, we look for companies that have strong reputations in the general aviation and business aviation market. Reputations, again, for quality products, for outstanding customer service, good warranty and product support, and that are usually privately owned. They've usually been started by somebody many years ago, and they're looking for a succession plan, and we provide that.
Well-established companies, not necessarily the startup.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Very good.
Correct.
So, and what does your distribution strategy mean for your customers?
Yeah, so distribution is vitally critical to all of our companies. We have to assure that the product is accessible to the customer, and so we employ a distribution network that covers the worldwide market. We also have a distribution business within McFarland that manages the wholesale distribution and an e-commerce site to allow them to sell product to the retail customer as well. And then we also further develop a deepening partnership with some of our critical distributors, such as Aircraft Spruce and so on.
That's a big, complex business.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, one of the challenges I would think in this would be keeping these companies loyal to their roots. I mean, that.
Yeah, very much so. And that's the thing that we really pride ourselves on is we want to preserve the legacy of their company and elevate the excellence that they've already built. And that's vitally important because so many of these companies have been started because of a passion of the owner. They're not necessarily set out to start a business, but they're aviation people, they're pilots and mechanics that have started businesses, and they've built a legacy based on their personality and who they are. And we don't want to change that at all. We just want to amplify it.
You're an I can't even say it. An enabler, not a changer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. If it isn't broke, why fix it? Right?
Yeah. Exactly right.
So, is there a bigger picture for Victor Sierra? I mean,
there is. So in the last 4 years, we started with McFarland Aviation, which was Van Street's first partnership in general aviation. And then Tempest Aero Group came along, and that's when we formed Victor Sierra to give a holding company feel to the Van Street investments in business aviation and general aviation. And then we acquired APS, which is Black Steel Brakes. They also have the Aero Aviation Hose Shop, and then which is a Stratoflex hose shop.
They build hoses for Lycoming and all kinds of manufacturers. And then the Superflight brand, which is the doping fabric for the legacy aircraft. So those we acquired, and then recently we acquired Aviate Group out of Houston, which is a company they're an MRO company that overhauls landing gears for the Phenom and the Hawker. And so if you look at those three pillars under Victor Sierra, you've got McFarlane, which does most everything airframe. Tempest Aero Group is firewall forward, and APS with the Aviate Group as part of it does everything in the undercarriage, brakes and landing gears and so on. So we're currently looking to expand and expand more into the business aviation market as well. So stay tuned because we've got several things in the works.
Sounds like you're heading up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of us depending on those parts, so keep them coming.
Will do.
All right, John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tom Wilson here, editor-in-chief of Kit Planes Magazine at AirVenture 2025, here with Paul Tice. And we're here mainly kind of end up talking about propellers. So, Paul, tell me how you got into this.
So McFarlane got into propellers about 6 years ago. In 2019, we purchased a company called Flight Resource. And ever since then, Flight Resource has been the propeller division of McFarlane. Flight Resource owned about 17 STCs to fit empty propellers on single-engine piston airframes. And so really common aircraft, the 182, 180s, 185s, 206s, Bonanzas, SR-22s, SR-20s, those type of airframes. And so when we bought the company in 2019, Flight Resource wasn't doing, they were selling, but they weren't stocking anything. And so McFarlane saw an opportunity really to invest in inventory really in the United States. And so we have over 100 propellers there on the shelf and support customers and kind of help that lead time shrink down a lot from the manufacturer.
Are you involved at all in the STC development process, or you just pick them up as they come?
Yeah, so we're working on our 172 amendment. We're working on, we're helping MT Germany with a Mooney, the development of a Mooney STC. So we're involved, but we're not actively pursuing new STCs personally.
Yeah, my personal thought of when you say MT propeller, I think of a high-end propeller in the high-end market. So the 172, and that sounds to me like it's a broadening of your approach?
Well, yeah, so there are, when you walk around Oshkosh or AirVenture, some of the finest airplanes out here have an empty propeller in them. And that's really why I think McFarlane chose to back empty propeller and pursue Flight Resource and kind of this business venture. We wanted, the top-end quality propeller and to back that product. So Flight Resource took a product that was already on some very, a lot of airframes, but some very nice airframes, and really cater it to the U.S. North American market. And so that's just where they found their niche. And then when we jumped in and started to kind of help support them and support customers more.
So MT propeller for you is a quality choice?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm not a pilot myself, so I'm not going to tell you. I get behind, my 172, and I love it. But just talking to some of the customers that buy propellers from us, that are reading some of the forums or, any of the media that I see about MT is positive, and we get such a overwhelmingly positive feedback from customers that's just kind of what I know, and that's what I can attest to, what I can speak to.
Right. And we're living uncertain times at the moment, but we always have an exchange rate and perhaps tariffs. I mean, if any of this figure into pricing with the MT prop, because you're talking German and U.S.?
Not too much yet. So, yeah, that's a good question. So we got pretty fortunate. How I order propellers from Germany now is basically I have to order a propeller 8 months in advance, just like everybody else. So I forecast out a year, ask them for different production slots and different propellers to be made, and I wait until between 60 and 80 propellers are ready to go and ship them over to Kansas just on a container instead of air freight. And I got a container of 64 propellers just before tariffs started, so that's really held me off, and they've been great to work with because they'll keep holding them for us, and we're waiting to kind of see what the tariff situation will be like. But Right now, they're being generous and just holding inventory over there for now until something changes.
It is significant investments in floor planning this stuff.
Oh,
good to have McFarland around.
But it was really nice that we got that in because we were able to not charge any of our customers tariffs on the propellers. We already got over here, so that was extremely helpful.
Yeah. So Paul, we talked about certified stuff. Let's talk about experimental a little bit. It's kind of close to us at Kit Planes. So MT is in the experimental market. You're servicing it?
Absolutely. So it's a lot different in that I don't have to own an SDC to find, the propeller that's going to fit your flying when you build a kit plane, fit your engine. It's really just about finding what type of flying you want to do and then fitting whatever propeller we can make or we can ask them to make to your needs. We've offered experimental propellers ever since Flight Resource started, and they've been in business around 20 years or so. And we've really kind of narrowed down what propeller is going to be best with each engine in each of the RV series, any of the van series. And so we stock those propellers because we know what a customer is needing based on the engine that they have and the flying that they're doing.
Give them a little technical assistance.
Yep. And we can make any or we can request any blade to be made, anything that we need from the MT factory to kind of support any other airframes as well.
So the individual customer can come to you and you can help them get the right blade, right prop on his plane.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. And earlier you mentioned you'd done some fair amount of work with vans, so that's a big outlet, I'm sure.
It is us and MT Propeller USA, so quite a few propellers into the vans market. That has been an airframe that has definitely supported MT, and we've saw the market grow there and demand grow for the MT propeller.
They're so big in the experimental market, yeah.
And so it's been nice to keep again just propellers on the shelves for those guys that want them.
Yeah, interesting too. I just came from the announcement of the Mosaic rule. Has been it's now the law. With a 1-year rollout, so that ought to really open up some propeller slots for you.
Sure, and I'm not even from only the Flight Resource side of the business, but also McFarland. There's a lot of new opportunities with what Mosaic is bringing to the table.
Yeah, it's pretty brave new world, really.
It is.
Really.
Yeah. Well, we got some things to figure out and how we're gonna kind of go through that. But
we'll look forward to it.
About it. Yep.
Paul Tice, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
I help people.
I create music. I shape the future.
I am an entrepreneur.
I inspire people with more than words.
I ride forward. The sky is not my limit.
Find your blue at MTSU.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a red bird near you and fly like you've been there before.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight here at EAA AirVenture, the world's largest aviation celebration. It's me, Sean Bean, staying with you here. Nearly 3 hours of coverage here on day 4. Want to make sure that I provide a quick shout out to all the sponsors that have been part of our segment sponsors for today: Avemco, Pecan Plantation, National Championship Air Races, Middle Tennessee State University, and Garmin. Thank you so much to our partners for their support. Let's keep the show moving. I'd like to do a quick introduction. Let's meet Continental's Karen Hong.
Hey everyone, Kayla McLeod here with Plane and Pilot Magazine, and we are at Oshkosh 2025, and I am joined by Miss Karen Hong. You are the CEO of Continental Aerospace Technologies. How's the show going for y'all so far?
So far, so good. Taylor, so nice to see you.
Oh, it's so great to see you again. We've spent some time working together in the past. I am personally a big fan of the Continental Prime IO370 from y'all. You guys are located down in Mobile, Alabama. A lot has been going on at Continental over the years. You guys are celebrating your 120th anniversary. What has changed in Continental's long-standing history?
Okay, so Continental's 120 years of journey is a good reflection of how the aviation has evolved. And we start engine manufacturing during the dawn of the general aviation. We also contributing to the golden age of a flight. So over the decades, we transitioned from carbureted piston to fuel injected, also the turbocharged, and now FADEC technology control power plant. And we have adapted through world wars, regulatory, and rise to the modern air mobilities. So we currently operated a highly globalized and customer-focused market, which is allow us continually powering our legacy forward by delivering reliable and sustainable and also more innovating product and service to the market and our valuable customers.
That's fantastic. Well, you talk about innovation. What's coming up at Continental? Is there anything new that y'all are showcasing this week?
So talking about innovations, we're so proud to introduce our helicopter specific CD170R, which is FedEx technology control and also with our latest developed software. It will bring our brand new standard and also experience for our helicopter operators. They will enjoy flying more, and we have a much more efficient and also simpler flying experience.
Wonderful. Well, there's a ton of people coming in and out of the booth here this week. Lots of excitement going on. What are you most looking forward to this week yourself, Karen?
Okay, this week we are looking for, of course, we just celebrate 120 years. And there's a lot of good achievements we would like to share with the markets, which is including 12 million flying hours for our accumulated Jet A flying. And also we have a brand new ERP system we just successfully launched last year, which is Oracle NetSuite. That allow us not only just to have the streamlined production, but also provide the world-class manufacturing level and principles for the high quality and also collaborations. So there's a lot, including, I would say, our brand new full responsive, including our full responsive website for both North America and also Germany. So I'm so excited. I cannot wait to tell you more my personal experience for the new upgrade or update on our website. So it's including the IPC, the illustrated part catalog with the pictures and all the information the customers need. And also we have the simulators. You can see the peak performance simulators, and you will enjoy just playing around by using your phone or laptop. Wow. Another fun part, actually now, you can go to the website to build your own engine for the Titan. You can select from crankcase, crankshaft, also accessories, and including colors. So it's so excited.
It's kind of like building your own car on a website. Now you can build your own engine on the website. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic.
We're talking about innovation, we're talking about operations, and also I would like to touch base of our productions. So we do get chance to establish in-stock business module. So currently, as of today, we have 6 in-stock engines, from new, rebuild, overhaul, and overhaul exchange.
Wow.
So we are so excited. And earlier when I mentioned about the customer's focus, so we also have a lot of initiatives, including we are currently setting up the 24/7 customer and product support network.
Wow, 24/7.
24/7.
24/7.
Yes.
Wow, that's a big deal for someone that lives in Alaska maybe, and it's 5 o'clock their time, but on the East Coast it's way later. That is incredible.
We need to have a good system and network to support the global business and our valuable customers. So we do working on the 24/7 support network.
That's incredible. That means a lot for owners. Well, Karen, thank you so much for having us. I can't wait to check in throughout the week, see how things are going for y'all. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much for your support.
Here at AirVenture 2025 at Aircraft Spruce, and they've sort of packed up a good amount of their stuff and their folks for this big air show. 60 years of Aircraft Spruce, and I don't know a pilot around that's never heard of Aircraft Spruce. And we're going to talk to Jim Erlin here, who's seen some changes in the 60 years of Aircraft Spruce. Jim, you've been doing this a long time.
A long, long time. My whole life.
You've seen a lot of products, and you've probably talked to a lot of pilots. Let's back up a little bit. I was an avionics guy for a lot of years, and I had stacks of catalogs that were a really useful reference for anything we needed in the shop. How has times changed since back those early days? 2025, we're kind of different than we were back in the 90s and 80s.
Right.
Right.
And the first time I came here to Oshkosh was with my parents in the first year, 1970. So I saw it when we had really very few product lines. It was Aircraft Spruce lumber, some metal, a few assorted products, and that we had a flyer. Catalog was 10 pages, and now it's 1,000 pages. Of course, we've now gone to an online presence. Much of the ordering's done by web. So since that time, it's changed tremendously, and the assortment of products that we carry has grown. Yeah, significantly. Yeah.
Let's talk about those products. Anything from hardware to major avionics to consumables, oil filters, air filters. Can't list them all in a short amount of time we have here. But if you were to put a percentage on the categories of products that Aircraft Spruce sells, what's the most? What's most if you sell?
The most parts we sell are things like consumables, like oil. We're a big oil distributor. Spark plugs, oil filters, products that people are going through all the time. Brake discs, tires. But then we get into every other area of the business, which can be avionics. We're a complete avionics dealer.
Well, let's talk about avionics, because whether you're building an airplane or equipping a certified airplane, maybe you're working with your shop or you're building the airplane yourself. How can Aircraft Spruce be a resource? Somebody that was involved in an RV-12 build project, it's complicated.
It is complicated, and we're not builders ourselves, but we've been in this business for 60 years now, and it's always been our goal as time has gone on to try to carry just about everything a guy could need to build an aircraft or maintain an aircraft. So really, if you pick up an Aircraft Spruce catalog or you go to our website, you can find just about everything you need, from the raw materials to all the finishing products to the avionics. Everything is there, and it's kind of the one-stop shop that we like to be.
Yeah. How has the buyer changed?
The buyer has, we see the same guys here every year, you know, and I've been in the booth here for 50 of those 60 years. And, you know, they haven't changed a lot, except that maybe the raw materials are not sold as much anymore, because it used to be all scratch-built airplanes. Now it's more kit airplanes. And over time, we have developed more into the aftermarket products and carrying that. So that has become more of our business than it was in the early days when it was really just scratch-built material.
Yeah. You know, at Aviation Consumer, one of the important parts of our reporting is the customer service that's behind the product. Spruce has got great customer service. You know, it's important for somebody to be able to get somebody on the phone a reasonable amount of time. What's important to you from a customer service standpoint? What do you expect of your folks dealing with a pretty demanding customer?
Yeah, and it can be demanding, and it's not always easy because we carry such a wide variety of products. We can't expect our people to be experts in everything, but they have resources. They have manufacturers' websites. They have our own website, our own catalog. What we expect them to be is pleasant on the phone, responsive, pick up the phone quickly, and if there's a problem with an order, let's fix it. Let's fix it now.
Yeah.
We do a pretty good job, but we ship about 4,000 orders a day from 10 locations, and about 98% of those orders go same day. And so I think our customer service is good, but when there is an issue, the thing I keep preaching is let's take care of it now.
Yeah. Let's show some of the products you've got here at the show.
So here we've got oil. We've got Aeroshell, Phillips. We sell a lot of this. We're going through oil filters, Tempest, Champion's oil filters, and then we go into spark plugs. Again, Tempest and Champion, the two leading manufacturers.
Oh, the account number?
And then moving down this way, we've got some pilot supplies, plotters, fuel gauges, funnels, flight bags, a little bit of everything. Coming over here, we've got batteries. We sell a lot of Concord and Gill batteries. And then we're getting into the avionics section where we have Lightspeed. We have David Clark, Bose headsets. They're A30, which we consider to be the premium headset today, and our headset. And then moving further into the avionics section, we've got some handheld radios, some Yaesu handheld radios, ICOM. And then we are a leading Garmin dealer as well. So we've got the Garmin products on the wall here, as well as Dynon. So a guy's got a full selection of anything he needs avionics-wise. There's not much that he can't get from Aircraft Spruce.
Before we wrap up, how's the supply chain looking? You know, and a couple of years ago, we had issues with consumables, oil filters, right? Getting better?
Much better, much better. Not completely resolved, but for the most part, the oil filter situation, we had a little spark plug issue. A lot of products that had components made overseas were a problem, but that seemed to have ironed itself out. So much, much better than it was 3 years ago.
Any parting advice for folks that are either building an airplane or are faced with renting their own aircraft and sourcing parts?
Well, it can be a daunting, thing to have to do, but we hope that they'll look at our website, look at the Aircraft Spruce website, maybe get a catalog, and let us help you through the process.
Jim, thank you. Been watching AirVenture 2025 coverage here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I'm Larry Anglosano. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Jim Irwin at Aircraft Spruce.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. We're here with Mark Keniston of Cub Crafters, and behind us is the very first experimental amateur-built NX Cub, right?
That's true. That's a kit that we're now offering as an X Cub. So we've had the EX kit, and then the EX2 and the EX3, and now with demand, we're also going to offer the X Cub as a kit.
Well, I was really happy when this came along because at Kit Planes, we do experimental amateur built. So as such, I couldn't really get my hands on the X Cubs.
Right.
And then you guys dropped this off at my house about a month or so ago and left it for me for 3 weeks.
Yes,
we took this airplane to paved runways, to unpaved runways, to gravel strips, to dirt, to lake beds, and things that look like runways, and some places that didn't look like runways.
And you're still smiling.
And I'm still smiling because I've really, as a tail dragger pilot my whole life, I love this nose wheel on this Cub.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because just the other day on social media, I had somebody comment, "What's that doing on there? Why would you have that?"
Right. I mean, it looks, okay, let's face it, like a tri-pacer, but you know what? Those are pretty stable airplanes. So tell us about the kit.
So the kit, much like our other airplanes, is offered in a box that we have back here. That's our first one in the box. This is serial number 1. It's the kit that I was involved in building for the factory. This is it right here. It's serial number 1. It's a 215 horsepower Lycoming engine with a constant speed Hartzell prop. It has Lycoming's fuel injection and Lycoming's electronic ignition. It's a 2,300 pound gross weight airplane. It's fast. You configure it with either the nose wheel, like you flew.
Yep.
You flew this airplane.
Yep.
You can configure it as a tail wheel. You can do that too. You can do it with either the spring gear or the legacy triangular shaped gear.
Okay.
So,
and I heard that this one is going to go on floats.
This is going on floats. How much were you told about our floats?
I won't give anything away.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
I won't. But it's a great airplane. So how long is it going to take somebody to build one?
So we advertise typically on our other 2 kits 800 to 900 hours for that. I've built 2 of them now. I would tell you that I spend a little bit more time than that, but I'm also interrupted too with the telephone, the computer, things like that. I kind of get off track. But I would tell anybody, if you can spend 3 to 4 hours a day uninterrupted, and that's the key, uninterrupted by your phone, computer, kids, wife, games, whatever,
right,
you can do it in a year or just a little bit more than a year.
Okay, that's good.
Flying.
That's pretty good. That's sure good. And is this traditional Dopin fabric or is this Ortex?
Yes, this is exactly what we use in the factory. You're aware of the Ortex. We now offer that on our UL airplanes, but this is polyfiber.
Got it.
And it also has the PPG paint system on it.
Okay. This is a beautifully finished airplane.
Thank you.
Why don't we take a little look at it and you can show us some of the features?
Sure. Absolutely. We'll do that. Yeah. So, Paul, as you know, Piper built around 960 Pacers, but they built over 9,500 Tri-Pacers. So Jim Richmond, along with our other senior leadership team members, thought it was a great idea to have a nose wheel on the front of the airplane. This airplane will do about 95, 96% of anything anybody wants to do in a tailwheel airplane. As I said earlier, a 2,300 pound gross weight, a premium interior. That's what the X-Cub is. It's our premium top of the line airplane. So everything you see is finely appointed in the airplane. Leather side panels, leather seats, a lot of carbon fiber. And one thing to note certainly is our control system is operated in the ailerons with a push rod. So that's in this wing strut here. You don't see any cables.
Right.
So it's quick acting. It has a taller control stick. It's lighter in roll control, and you feel that instantaneously in the air. The other thing that you'll find with the airplane, the gross weight, the things that we are able to do with the airplane because it has a higher gross weight, you can take this airplane places, you can change the gear configuration. It really does a lot of things. And around the house here, we talk about this as being our switchblade or our Swiss Army knife, if you will.
Sure.
So many things that you can do with it. This particular airplane has the G3X in it, the Executive Glass Touch, the Garmin Autopilot. It does have our top-of-the-line paint scheme, which is new for this year. And you'll notice our other airplanes also are sporting the same scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, as I said, is a nose wheel. Again, you can make it a tail wheel in about 4.5 hours. It's an easy conversion. We lift the airplane up in the air. Yep.
Bolts on up here.
It sure does. We remove this composite trim here, this fairing, take a different gear leg and move it up here, and it has a different rake forward.
Got it.
And then take the nose wheel out of it, which is an easy changeover as well, because this nose wheel truss is connected with hardware. It's not welded in there. 4 bolts, you can pull it down, and then we have other composite components to fill in that void.
Very nice.
Put the tail wheel on it, and you're ready to go.
Okay. Really nice. And I see there's a baggage compartment back here.
Correct. Yep. Most all of our airplanes have extended baggage. This particular airplane also has 50 gallons of fuel. The seat is what we call our sling seat. It's easily removable. So in theory, you can take the seat out and stack luggage from the rear stick all the way back.
All the way back. Yeah, that's a lot of volume. That's
I like
pretty
to
good.
tell people if you can fit it in the airplane,
It'll
it'll
lift
fly it. As long as it's not gold or lead.
Tempest plays a vital role in the industry, and in today's world we are the leading spark plug and oil filter manufacturer for general aviation. We've been able to not only release new products, but we've taken legacy products and created innovations. We take great pride not only from a design standpoint, but from a manufacturing standpoint, all the way down to making sure the customer is satisfied with the product. Quality, innovation, performance. Tempest.
Hello everyone, Russ Niles reporting for AvWeb from EAA AirVenture in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. We are at Oshkosh Live. We are live from the Redbird booth, and we got a fascinating first guest here today. Adrian Eichhorn, you may recall, is a circumnavigator and flew a polar flight as well. But along the way, he became friends with a Japanese pilot who shares similar goals and similar aspirations to him, but they forged a common bond over kind of a grim anniversary. This is the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. And each have their thoughts and their beliefs and their attachment to that event as a milestone event in human history. And what's striking is that if these two people, a Japanese guy and an American guy who was also Bill Clinton's nuclear advisor, if 80 years later they can be fast friends, then maybe there's hope for this world after all. So Adrian, why don't you tell us about your event and what it signifies?
You bet, Russ. Thanks, and it's an honor to be here. Yeah, Chinzy and I met each other. He reached out to me when I got finished with my round-the-world flight, mentioned that he wanted to fly around the world. He started a nonprofit organization to promote the fact that handicapped people can achieve their goals. And he lost an eye in a motorcycle accident in Japan, couldn't fly in Japan, came to the United States, went to Embry-Riddle, got his ratings, now works for Boeing. He's up in Seattle. So he reached out looking for help and advice that he wanted to fly around the world. And when he first reached out to me, I said, well, Chinzy, what kind of airplane do you have? And he says, well, I don't have an airplane. And so I kind of blew him off at first because a lot of people were looking for time and stuff. And anyways, fast forward, he bought a P model Bonanza. It's about 5 months newer than mine. And I helped. I'd have layovers when I was flying for JetBlue in Seattle, and we'd go over position reports and the HF requirements and fuel and came really good friends. Then COVID came. I was planning my North Pole trip, and we finally said, we got to go. And we launched out of Virginia the same day. Went as far as Iceland. I went over the North Pole to Fairbanks, Alaska, and Chinzy went to Europe. So we've become super good friends. And we've talked about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. My father was in the Army, Air Corps, and then the Army during the war. And it's fascinating to me because when you think about it, on August 6th, 1945, and I think it was probably one of the most significant decisions, toughest decisions this country's ever had to make, that you think about the day after we bombed Japan, nobody probably ever thought that the United States and Japan would be allies
and as strong partners as we are. So it's a significant event. So we're going to plan a Japanese-American friendship flight. We'll do a formation flight at Wendover Air Force Base in Utah, because Wendover is where the crews of the Enola Gay and Boxcar trained, as well as almost all of the bombers. The first bombers that went to Europe flew out of Wendover. And it's a base that in 1946 they just closed the doors, walked away, and most of the facilities are still there. It's a fascinating place to visit because of the history. So it's this event, our commemorative flight, is to bring recognition to the fact that it's been 80 years since the dropping of the first bomb. Here's where the pilots trained. This is where they lived. These are the routes that they flew. These are the bombing ranges, and to video it from the air. And just bring recognition to the fact that it's now the anniversary of that. And, of course, the second bomb was on the 9th of August.
My birthday, actually.
Fantastic.
I remember Nagasaki every year. Is there any public participation in this? Can the public take part in any of the events?
Well, we're working on that. Not planning any big fanfare event, and I've talked with the curator of the museum there. We were reaching out to different networks to bring recognition to it, because I personally think when I turn on Fox or CNN or anything, I'm sick and tired of it, because it's the same thing every night. Republicans bashing Democrats, Democrats bashing Republicans, and it's just, to me, this is kind of a good news story. It's a human interest story of two guys whose fathers, Chenzi's dad did not fight in the Japanese Defense Force, but I believe his uncle did. But now we're best of friends, and it's going to be kind of cool.
Well, I want to lean a little bit in on your experience in the nuclear world. My father was an officer in NORAD. So if I ever write a book, it's going to be called Growing Up at Ground Zero, because he was at all of the bases that had big targets on them, right?
Yep.
When you were a nuclear advisor to the president, it was 50 years on since Hiroshima. But wasn't it sort of relevant and present on your mind in everything that you did as a nuclear advisor? Look, we've done this once and we don't want to do it again.
Right, and I was there from 96 to 2000, and the plan that we had then, the unclassified plan, was called the SIOP, Single Integrated Operations Plan. And the whole foundation of the plan is to control escalation. When in the United States would not use nuclear weapons for first attempt, it was only retaliatory measures. So if we had indication of attack against North America, we would convene a strategic missile event conference, get certain people on the board, assess what was coming in, and then it was the SIOP advisors, which was, I was one of 5. We were on duty for 8 hours at the time, and make the recommendation to the president as to what option to use, because we were certified on the plan, and like all of the cabinet and government and military officers at that rank have so much responsibility. They don't need to know in all the intricacies of the plan. So the SIOP advisor would make the recommendation to the president, and it was simply your recommendation based on what was coming in. And the fascinating thing is he had 2 options, concur or non-concur. He couldn't say, well, Mr. Secretary of Defense, what do you think? Or National Security, what do you think? It was either you concur or non-concur. If he non-concurs, you terminate the conference and wait to see what happens. So pretty significant. When you think about it.
Now, since the Berlin Wall came down, I believe my observation is that there's a lot less concern, a lot less chatter about the end of the world. That seems to be creeping back. How does this new generation cope with a nuclear threat that may be even worse than what we lived through?
Yeah, well, the Cold War is still alive and well. I don't think we need to worry about, well, it's such a crazy environment now, but for the longest time I thought we don't need to worry about the superpowers because they know the ramifications. They don't want to launch the nuclear weapons, and again, it can get out of hand in a heartbeat. But it's the rogue countries, the countries that may have nuclear capability, but they don't have the delivery systems, yes. For a nuclear weapon to be pretty effective, it's an airburst. It's a mile or so above the ground. So it's probably delivered by a bomber or a missile. And some of the countries that we're worried about don't have that capability, specifically the North Koreans. They've tried with their no-dong missiles and such, but they haven't been able to reach long targets. So it's a scary time. It's very fragile.
Yeah,
and
anything else would be sort of nuclear terrorism, right?
Right. And when I entered the Army back in 1980, the very first school I went to as an engineer officer was Atomic Demolitions Munitions School. We had tactical nukes. We had SATMs and MATMs. We had small nuclear weapons that we could jump out of airplanes with a parachute.
Oh, I want that job.
I know. So you go from that to strategic nukes. So the tactical nukes are pretty much all gone. So what you've got is the big weapons of mass destruction. And I hope we never see it because, and again, I think that's one of the importance of recognize an event like this and the significance that it was, I believe at the time, probably still the toughest decision this country's ever had to make because we had the technology, we hadn't used it, we didn't really know the ramifications, and you can go on into many discussions whether we should have picked those targets or not.
What difference does it make?
Right.
It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be ugly.
Anyhow, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today, Adrian. I really hope your event goes well, and you'll send us lots of photos, and we'll get them up. On a completely different topic that is much happier and more soothing, we went out to the seaplane base yesterday, and we got a great video of a cool airplane, a Kit Fox on floats. Mark Phelps interviewed the owner of the airplane, and we'll take it away.
Putting on sunscreen pretty quick. Okay, we can spin around. This is good, right?
Yeah.
My name's Ty Firkin, and I flew my little Model 4 Kit Fox here from Caldwell, Idaho. Took about 13 and a half hours, and glad to be here. All right, so I built this airplane back in 2019, kind of bolted it together. My father covered it, had a friend paint it. I pulled all the paint stripes on it and stuff like that. 2023, I put it on floats. It's on a pair of Czech 1250s, and it is it's an awesome little float plane. It only weighs about 820 pounds, cruises at 105 miles an hour, burning about 6 gallons an hour, and carries about anything I can put in it. It's a happy little airplane. Yeah, so I grew up, my father's a A&N hardware salesman, and I grew up going to all kinds of small airports with him as a child, selling hardware. And so I always ran around hangars and looked at airplanes and loved them. And out of high school, right out of high school, I decided instead of going to college, I was going to become a pilot. Did that. I crop dusted for about 10 years. And then I started off with a Piper Colt that was a tail dragger, and had a Highlander, Kit Fox, another Kit Fox, and then this one. And they're fantastic little planes. They're just so nimble and fun, and nothing puts a bigger smile on my face. They're great. I'm from Idaho. We're fairly up high. It's got to have kind of a lightweight airplane with a lot of horsepower. This has a Rotax 912 in it with 110 horsepower. I put it on these Czech 1250 amphibs. They came from Wisconsin. They're back in their home state. And it took probably about 2 or 3 months to marry them together. It's kind of it worked out being a really good combination. The airplane has plenty of flotation. The landing gear on the things is fairly bulletproof, and it's fairly big tires, so I can still go in and out of some grass strips and stuff like that up in the backcountry. It has an electro-hydraulic pump in it. Kind of works just like a Beechcraft or a Cessna or something like that. You just switch the gear up, and gear comes up, light comes on, same with going down. Everything's pretty, it takes about 50 hours or so to shake all the bugs out of something. I've got probably about 150 hours on this on floats, and it is, it's been pretty solid for the past year and a half or so. So another interesting thing about this plane is I have a constant speed prop on it. It's a E-prop, and it allows me to get full use of all the horsepower and torque I have. Everything works great on it. It really bumped up my cruise speed quite a bit. I used to cruise about 100, and now I'm doing about 108, 109 on the floats, and on wheels it's a 120 mile an hour airplane. I guess it could even be considered complex. I have retractable landing gear and constant speed, so kind of a interesting combination on Kit Fox. You don't really see that too often. So I have a lot of time flying a lot of 10,000, 12,000 pound turbine airplanes that are always heavily loaded. And comparatively, this thing's a go-kart. It is just nimble as can be and leaps off the ground. It's so much fun. It does a good combination of everything. It gets off the water in about 5 seconds if I'm solo, 5-6 seconds. Especially down here, this is like flying through syrup in this thick air. Pretty much set up exactly how I want it. The only thing I'm really going to do different is put full glass doors on it. Go with a big LP Aero bubble door on both sides. And mostly I'm doing that because I just had a daughter about a year and a half ago, and she enjoys riding in it, but she can't see anything. And so we're, yeah, that's about it. Other than that, I think it's kind of done. I don't know what else to do to it, but I'm sure something will pop up someday.
Welcome back to Oshkosh Live. This next story, actually, the video that we just showed kind of reminds me of the whole ethic of the next story. In 1987, Peter Egan and his wife Barb were living in California and decided to get out of the rat race for a little while in the most unusual way. I don't know about you, but marriage, I believe, requires a certain degree of separation. Well, these two, for a whole summer, had very little separation at all. They flew 4,000 miles in a Piper Cub and camped under the wing most nights. So what was the inspiration for all of that, Peter?
Well, I guess I've always wanted to do a flight like that around the country. I think the first thing I ever really paid attention to as far as vehicles was airplanes. When I was a kid, I was crazy about airplanes and made model airplanes and read all the books I could. Spirit of St. Louis came to the Elroy Theater when I was a kid, and I got really fired up about aviation, so I had to read all the flying books. I took flying lessons in high school, but couldn't get my license. I couldn't afford it, and went to ground school and took a test and passed that. But I wanted to fly for years, and I really couldn't afford to do it or find the time until we moved to California. We were finally settled, and we were right near Orange County Airport.
And, by the way, became a world-famous automotive writer that everybody's heard of because he worked for Road and Track and was the lead columnist.
Yeah, I worked for Cycle World and Road and Track. It was a very lucky job connection for me because I could finally write about something I was really interested in.
So millions of people around the world associate Peter Egan with cars, but not with airplanes. Now, Barb, when he came to you with this idea, I'm assuming it was his idea, what was the reaction?
Well, I have a little bit of an adventurous spirit, and so I wanted to take lessons too. And we actually did a ground school together at Orange Coast College, and it was 4 nights a week for like 3 or 4 hours at night, and then we both passed our flight school,
FAA exam.
Exam, yeah. Then he took lessons first, and when he got his license, then I did. Same airplane, same everything.
Yeah, tell us about the airplane. J3, 1945 model, I believe.
Yes, it was. It was originally built for the Army. It was an L4 model, and it was sold. It never saw service, I don't think. I think it was probably sitting on the ground at Lock Haven, tied down when the war ended. And I was told that it was sold to the, what was the? Shoshone Indian Reservation in Northern California.
Yeah.
And I said, a friend of ours said that the government sold a lot of those airplanes off to various organizations, federally connected organizations, for about $1. And it was probably used as, for ambulance work and, getting medical care to remote ranches and so on. But sometime in the 50s, it was sold and just became a training airplane for a succession of flight instructors. And somebody repainted it, took away the clamshell and turned it into a civilian airplane with yellow and yellow airplane with black
and lightning stripe.
And so when we bought it, it looked very much like a standard J3 Cub. You could see a couple welding spots where they had the old stretcher holder and so on in the airplane, but otherwise it was pretty much a stock 1945 J3, 65 horsepower engine, and
you're not a small guy. You're a small small woman, but the two of you in that Cub. Not only was it cozy, it was performance limiting, shall we say?
Yes, it was. Well, the back seat in a Cub is where you're supposed to solo from, and that they've made that roomier. You can have your legs stretched out. I'm a little cramped in the front seat of a Cub, but Barb was very comfortable in the front seat. And but the two of us, we were pretty thin at the time, so that helped. But when we got to Madison, I took some of my big lumbering friends, men friends, for a ride in the Cub, and realized how lucky I was to have a lightweight wife who was sitting in the front seat, because the airplane took a lot longer to get off the ground with 280-pound guys in it. So
I resemble that remark.
There's a little serendipity going on here. Tom Wilson, editor-in-chief of Kit Planes magazine. They came to get you.
Yeah, my reputation precedes me.
Tom Wilson, the editor-in-chief of Kit Planes magazine, found out that I was interviewing Peter. They have a long association. They wrote about cars together in California.
At Road and Track, yeah. Well, the difference is I was on the JV team at Road and Track, and Peter is definitely a A-lister. So, but yes, our time there did overlap, and I'm very excited, Peter, that you made the effort to write this book, because I think as one of your millions of fans, it's been a little bit of a drought lately, and I haven't had my dose of vegan.
It's called retirement.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing, too.
And some people call it laziness.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was quite excited to hear that the book was out, and that I could sit down and curl up and enjoy some of your just endless storytelling.
Well, thank you. The pressure was on to do the book, because I had planned to do a book when we did the trip in 1987, and I had taken all these notes. I had a little tape recorder in my pocket so I could record during the day what we were seeing from the air, and then I would write out the notes in the evening. So I had about 110 pages of typed notes on the trip, and a log book that not the regular log book, but I had kept a daily log of what we were doing. And so I had photographs. Barb and I had both taken snapshots. And I had kept all the Time magazines we got at our house while we were gone, so I would remember what was going on in the world. But I put all of this stuff in an attaché case, and it stayed there for 30-some years. And when I got back to California, I was working for both magazines, and I realized I was just I didn't want to spend my one day off, a week writing a book. I just needed not to be working all the time.
Overwhelming.
So I really waited till I retired to start working on it.
It's a beautiful book. It's a well put together book. Can we get in on it?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be able to zoom in on the book. There it is, and it's got some photos of the trip. But there's a line that I really like in the beginning, with after you've taken off. The very first thing that happened as they're launching from this airport in California is the compass broke. And yes. I haven't finished the book yet, but did the compass ever get fixed?
Not until we got to Florida. We went to see my dad in Boca Raton. I think we went to the airport office of every small airport we landed at between Corona and Boca Raton, California, and nobody had a compass in stock.
Boca Raton in Florida.
Florida, yeah. And so I thought, somebody would have one, but we were just waiting to take off, and I was doing the pre-flight or the run-up, actually, and Barb pointed out that our compass was off about 4 degrees from the runway heading that we were pulling onto. And I said, oh, several times we'd had to adjust it, so I gave her a little screwdriver to adjust it that I had in the seat pocket. And she reached forward and started to adjust, and it went ting, and it just started spinning around. So we had no compass, and I sat there, okay, can we fly without a compass? Oh, yeah, we know the roads. We're following highways and rivers, rivers, and railroads anyway. So
it was an IFR trip. I follow roads.
It really was. But we made it to Palm Springs, and then we landed at a small Bermuda Dunes just south of Palm Springs, and they didn't have a compass. And finally, we just gave up and finally found one when we had some time in Florida. We actually had to ask at about 3 different airports in Florida, small airports, and we found one. Had a $67 or $87 compass, and we finally installed it. But we didn't really need it too much at that point.
Yeah, and how much is that compass now? $7,000.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I think, Peter. I think that was the most interesting part about the compass story was you went 3/4 of the trip without it, more or less, 2/3.
Yeah.
And then once you get it, you don't really need it anyway.
The day we installed it, we were taking off to fly up the East Coast. Up the coast of Florida and the Outer Banks, and I said, well, you don't need a compass. You can hardly go wrong. There's the ocean. The ocean, as long as the ocean stays on the right and the land stays on the left, we'll be fine all day long. So,
Now, you flew quite a bit of this trip, didn't you, Barb?
Yeah, I flew. When he would take a break and write notes, and I'd fly for a few hours. Mm-hmm. And but I didn't like turbulence, so if it got really turbulence and all of a sudden we went down 1,000 feet, then I said, you can take it. So I did fly quite a bit, though.
Okay, well, it's a really approachable book. I mean, a guy doesn't write about cars and motorcycles for 30 or 40 years without learning a little bit about how to convey thoughts and emotions. So it's a really approachable book, conversational style, and it's a book that you can give to your non-flying friends because there's enough context added by Peter to turn it into the kind of adventure story that has an airplane context. But for those of us that eat up airplanes, there's also enough detail and content to keep us satisfied too. So it's a good book for everybody. Excellent for summer reading, and we really appreciate you both coming in.
Thank you. It's great to visit. Nice to come over to EAA Air Adventure again too. We haven't been here for 1 or 2 years, so it gets a little bit bigger every year.
It does.
And my sister came along, who's never been here, from California, and she's amazed at the collection of airplanes and the
collection
size
of people.
Yeah, people, everything that's
you
going
might
on.
have trouble finding her out there.
Yeah, I know. She's lost in the crowd there, and I hope she can reconnect with our family. But,
so, Russ Niles reporting for AvWeb from EAA Air Adventure 2025. This has been Oshkosh Live. Thanks for watching.
Tempest plays a vital role in the industry, and in today's world we are the leading spark plug and oil filter manufacturer for general aviation. We've been able to not only release new products, but we've taken legacy products and created innovations. We take great pride, not only from a design standpoint, but from a manufacturing standpoint, all the way down to making sure the customer is satisfied with the product. Quality, innovation, performance. Tempest.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
I help people.
I create music.
I shape the future.
I am an entrepreneur.
I inspire people with more than words.
I ride forward.
The sky is not my limit.
Find your blue at MTSU.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. They have set us loose on the grounds of Oshkosh, and as you may be able to see, we are in the U.S. Air Force tent. Let me tell you, this place is electric. If you can take a look behind me, this place is packed. I've been to Miami clubs that weren't this poppin', so this is great. I'm here with my man Andrew Oppman, marketing and communications point person for Middle Tennessee State University, one of the proud sponsors of Oshkosh Live. Andrew, we're here in the U.S. Air Force tent, spending some time with the Civil Air Patrol. I know MTSU has a partnership with the Civil Air Patrol. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, we couldn't think of anybody better to share the screen with than Civil Air Patrol because they're such great partners and friends. We've been with them since 2014, where we host many events on the campus at the wing or state level and the region level, but also we host a national special cadet activity called the Engineering Technology Academy. We just did it 2 weeks ago. We had cadets from all across the country attending, and what a great opportunity it was for them to see our campus and us to see them.
Awesome. Well, if you can take a look behind me here, we got the Sims at work. This is where the journey begins. And you can see it underway, impressionable minds being impacted as we speak right here live. And I'm also here with General A with the Civil Air Patrol. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with us today. So, we're putting this out to a large audience of aviation enthusiasts. What message would you like to share as far as supporting, being a part of, volunteering with the Civil Air Patrol?
Yeah, absolutely. So hello, Oshkosh Live. Civil Air Patrol is an absolutely incredible organization. We've been around since 1941. We're 70,000 volunteers serving our communities, saving lives, and shaping futures. We do that through 3 missions: aerospace education at locations like this, where people are so excited about STEM and engineering and technology. We also do it with emergency services, where we do disaster relief and search and rescue for our organization. And we do it with our cadet program, which has over 30,000 young people who are motivated to learn about leadership and aerospace and flying. It's an absolutely incredible organization that makes a difference in lives every day. So if people have a passion for aviation, for young people, for developing their potential, we're a great place to volunteer.
Well, I got to tell you, you must be doing something right, because I saw people taking selfies with you. So clearly the Civil Air Patrol is making an impact.
We are. We're so proud to be in 1,400 communities across the country, having activities that help cadets develop their skills and develop their interests, from aircraft maintenance and manufacturing to aviation business to engineering technology to space academies to our flight academies that help them learn to fly.
That's incredible. Well, we also have 2 cadets with us today. We have Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Kara German and Cadet Colonel Ella Bay Perry is here with our friend Haley, one of the esteemed graduates of Middle Tennessee State University. Haley, I saw you asking these 2 a lot of questions. Was sort of curious what you were picking their brains. What did you learn, or what questions do you want to ask?
Yeah, so we were actually talking a little bit about Civil Air Patrol, and Kara and Ella were telling me about it. So tell me what your experience was, Kara, in Civil Air Patrol, and kind of what you have gained from being in this program.
Yeah, so my experience kind of comes from my family. So my dad and brother were in that program for about 10 to 12 years. And I always told myself, I don't think I'm ever going to join. That's not for me. But then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I want to become a better person, and I want to fulfill my true potential and find out who I can be. And so when I was 15, I made the decision to join, and I totally don't regret that at all. Like, it was the best decision I could have ever made for myself in my life. But regarding skills that I've gained,
Definitely confidence. I was a very shy person, not very sure of myself. I've gained a lot of confidence. I've learned how to advocate for myself and things that I need, as well as conflict management, interview skills and resumes just for applying to jobs in the real world. And so Civil Air Patrol has prepared me in more ways than one, and I'm very grateful for those opportunities.
Yeah, that's awesome. You kind of mentioned to me earlier that Civil Air Patrol has impacted your future goals for your career. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I never thought that I would touch aviation. Like, I was always very scared of heights. But after going on an O flight and realizing, like, how cool planes are and how it's really not that bad, I discovered that I'm really into the mechanics of aviation, and so I'm actually enlisting in the Air National Guard, and I really hope to work on C-17s and be an aircraft mechanic. So that's my goal right now.
That's awesome. Congrats. Ella, tell me a little bit about your experience in the program as well and what you've gained from Civil Air Patrol.
I joined Civil Air Patrol when I was like 16, and basically from that I went from like a scared early senior high to confidence, like German said. But I originally joined just out of curiosity. Both of my brothers were in at that time, and I just pulled up some of their material and was reading about self-discipline and motivation and really how to learn how to lead yourself and be a follower towards others before, learning how to lead other individuals. And that really kind of sparked some interest in me, and so I started pursuing that, worked through all the promotions in Civil Air Patrol, and then I also did an O flight, which opened the world of aviation to me because I had closed it off. I was like, ain't no way I'm doing that, but I felt the acceleration, and I was like, this is something that I definitely need to do at some point. I attended a National Flight Academy, like General A kind of mentioned earlier, and it was a wonderful experience, and I've always had just wonderful experiences one after another, especially being here this week during National Blue Beret.
Well, I want to ask both of you, here at Oshkosh, see a lot of people coming up to the booth, to the desk, asking questions. What are the most frequently asked questions you get about volunteering with the Civil Air Patrol?
I'd say just what it is, because people don't really understand exactly what we do. We're in a uniform, but we're still civilians, so that's often a question that they kind of ponder and ask about. And then senior members, which would be anyone 21 or older, they also wonder, what can we do? And honestly, the answer is that is just mentorship. I realized even in my position, I'm heading into mathematics education at Liberty University, and I've realized that I love being someone that someone can come to for questions and just helping them work through problems. And so often I talk about that when someone is asking different questions.
Cadet German, same thoughts, frequently asked questions you get?
I think one that I get asked the most is why I stay in this program, because, most kids my age, I'm 18, out of high school, and they're like, oh, don't you want to focus on college? Why still do Civil Air Patrol? And so for me personally, I've really loved the community, as well as just the culture of values that have been instilled throughout this program that keeps all of us grounded, and we share those values. And so it's just a wonderful community of supporting and encouraging people that have built me up to succeed in life. And so I really hope to serve and do the same for others. But everyone is going to have different answers for that. But that's definitely a question that I hear a lot.
So General A, to bring you back into the conversation, the call to action, where can people find you? What direction you want to give our audience on how to get involved, how to support, how to be a part of it?
Yeah, well, if you're a pilot or if you have other skills that might help us with one of our missions, we would love to have you check us out at GoCivilAirPatrol.com. Find your local unit, one of those 1,400 squadrons in all 50 states, and find out if you're a right fit for the organization and if we can offer you a great way to serve others.
Well, I just want to say to the Civil Air Patrol, to you all, thank you for all you do everywhere. So it's an incredible story. Two tremendous ambassadors for the Civil Air Patrol here. Thank you, General A, for your time. And that is a wrap on Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. It's been great spending a few moments of the week with you. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Sean Bean signing off.